together and really had that family feel just made me so proud. And a fun little fact, Victor Glover's first flight was on NASA Crew Number 1 with the SpaceX Dragon Resilience, and then I followed right after him as the Inspiration 4 mission pilot of the same spaceship. And so we have this kind of like spaceship connection as mission pilots.
Oh, Brenda, doesn't that just give you chills?
Is there any sort of fear of missing out that you're not going to the moon?
Oh, I look at it as not going to the moon yet. I think that's one of the things about NASA and this mission opening up the way for commercial space to follow. And me being, a commercial space astronaut, I flew on SpaceX, I'm not NASA. I always look at, this is the beginning of opportunity. I look at it as this is the beginning of the way aviation was at the turn of the last century. And you look at Bessie Coleman, and you look at some of the great trailblazers, that led the way. And then now we all have the opportunity to fly. And I'm hoping that that's eventually the history we will have with the moon.
You and I met years.
Would you want to go?
Yes. Put me in, Coach. Put me in. Rocket Girl needs to go up in a rocket at some point, and maybe we can go together because we got to meet. Yes, to the moon and back, right? Well, you and I got to meet a few years back, right after your historic mission. And I remember you telling me a story about, when you were growing up, some of the dreams you had just seemed like they weren't reachable. How does it make you feel now to see what's happening and go back to that little girl inside of you that was hoping to be right where you are today?
Oh, that's such a great question because I was born on the island of Guam. My dad was working at the NASA tracking station during the Apollo mission. So my family was there for Apollo 8 and Apollo 11. And, I wasn't born yet. I was born 8.5 months after Neil Armstrong stepped foot on the moon. So I'm a moon celebration baby. But I grew up with my dad's stories from that time and just how proud he was to be a part of this history and now to be here and watching us go around the moon again with this new diverse crew and being able to be at the launch. And the little girl in me is totally geeking out. I get super excited for all of these astronauts and all of these experiences because I know how much it inspires the next generation. It inspires all of us, but it inspires all of those little boys and little girls around the world to believe that they can be a part of this next wave of exploration that's going to take us. It's going to fill out low Earth orbit, but onto the moon and then eventually Mars. And they can literally dream about being moon and Mars walkers.
Well, we are going to pause for a second, and we're going to take you to a live look at our astronauts right now up in space, and then Brendan's going to have another question for you, Cyan. I mean, getting images like this, I think we can all pause right now and just feel what's happening, and this is our generation. This is the Apollo era now in the new era of the space race that we are experiencing here in 2026. And I can't even imagine what's going through their head right now. Brendan, I mean, I don't know about you. I probably would be, if I was on the crew right now, I'd be a little bit like, oh my gosh, what's coming up next,
Yeah, it's kind of the one point in the mission where there's not a lot you can control. Like, you keep it pointed in the right direction, you have your correction burns, and you make sure your heat shield's facing towards the Earth, but other than that, you're just kind of along for the ride. But, I mean, just imagine everyone that got to experience Apollo and grow up with Apollo and hearing stories of these Apollo astronauts. And then there was a couple of generations that didn't. We had the space shuttle, we built the International Space Station. Dr. Proctor, is this the new golden age of space flight? I mean, we've got private companies building rockets now, NASA's still building rockets, and yeah, we're going to the moon, we're looking at the moon, but I think in the back of our minds, you mentioned it a second ago, I think we're all kind of thinking about Mars in the not too distant future.
Yes, it's definitely, and we saw that. We saw that with, going into the pandemic. And in 2020, it was May of 2020 that Demo 2 launched with SpaceX, and it marked that return to flight from American soil. And soon after that, Victor went with Crew 1, and then it was really less than, I think it was only like 5 months later that I got selected for Inspiration 4, the first all-civilian mission. No NASA astronauts. None of us had been to space. And everybody was like shocked that this was happening so quickly. And then in the last 5 years, not only have we seen a lot of activity when it comes to commercial space, Polaris Dawn with the first civilian spacewalk, Fram 2 going around the poles with civilians, and now Artemis, you're like, wow, we've got civilians going and doing amazing things in space. We've got career NASA astronauts going and doing amazing things, heading back to the moon, and this really interesting melding of these two worlds are coming together. And I think because of that, it's going to open up so much more opportunity. And that's what I'm excited about. You've got SpaceX, you've got Blue Origin, you've got all of these low Earth orbit companies coming in and thinking about space stations. What's going to replace the ISS? We've got this big push from NASA to build out the infrastructure to live on the moon. And then everybody's thinking, once we do that and get that foothold, it's on to Mars. And that means we need a lot of people from a lot of different skill sets being a part of this. And I think that that's the excitement that this crew brings as they head to Splashdown. We're all just so excited for them to come back and have this completed mission and share what they've learned so we can move on to that next step.
Incredible. And just a reminder, you can text your questions into 704-329-3600. We do have a question that came in for Cyan. Did going to space change your life? And if so, how?
It did. It changed my life because, I got selected to go to space as an artist and a poet, but I'm a geoscientist by training. And we flew to space in the SpaceX Dragon capsule. And because we weren't docking to the International Space Station, we had the largest continuous window ever flown to space, the SpaceX cupola. And we spent 3 days in space, and we got to see the Earth, and it was so stunningly beautiful. But while I was in the cupola, I realized that I was being bathed in Earth light. This term came to me, and it was like, Earth light, this is Earth light. And I started thinking, well, wow, how do we know about sunlight? How do we know about moonlight? How can we not know about Earth light and how our planet transforms sunlight into this amazing medium that enables life to evolve and exist? And so going to space changed my whole way I see our planet and connect to it as a geoscientist and as an artist and an environmentalist, and that whole overview effect that was coined by Frank White, the philosopher. I had my overview moment in the form of Earth light. And so I hope that that's a new term for all of you out there, and that you will now have this new relationship with our planet. When you walk outside and you think, oh, this is a beautiful sunny day, what you're walking in is actually Earth light.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sold. If I was an emoji right now, I'd have the stars emoji looking at Earth Night.
Right? But those are the ways, there are ways that this crew is going to come back and they're going to be changed. The experience, you cannot help but be changed when you take on these big, grand endeavors. And I'm excited for that. I'm excited to hear how this has impacted them and the stories they're going to tell and the way that they're going to share this experience to inspire, not only their fellow NASA astronauts and commercial astronauts, but again, that future generation that is young and they're watching, they're tuning in, and they're so excited.
And I think that's, you touched on it several times about it being Earthlight, about, about the home planet. Like, it's so exciting to go to the moon. It's so exciting to be in space, but we're looking back at home, at Earth. And I feel like that may be something that we come away with as maybe the legacy of this Artemis II mission specifically, is when they gave us all those beautiful high-definition images of Earth behind the moon. And then you think about the eclipse where we had literally the Earth light coming around the moon and just giving us some stunning pictures. And even the astronauts themselves several times said they got distracted looking out the window back at home. And I really hope, you touched on, I hope that for a lot of folks on the ground, it puts everything into a new perspective about just how special our planet is, even as we venture further and further out into the solar system.
Yeah, in 1968, the Earthrise photo was taken by NASA astronaut Bill Anders on Apollo 8. And, we weren't expecting it. It wasn't on the manifest. It was a moment where he looked up, saw Earth rising across the moonscape, and said, oh, gosh, hand me the camera. This is amazing. This is stunning. And we went back with intention. And the Earth set, I just feel like that's such a beautiful thing that they got Earth rise, and then this crew, it's all about that photo of Earth set, and just how we've been captivated by it. And that Earth rise photo actually was the beginning. It actually created the environmental movement of the 70s. It was the first time we had seen our planet in that way, in that Earthlight way. And so I'm hoping that this Earthset photo and this moment will help us reconnect with our planet, and we can start to talk about Earthlight and what it means to be a part of this living system and how we can best take care of it for future generations. And a lot of people out there will say, well, why are we spending money on space, and why are we sending humans and not robots and all of these things? But when humans go, what it does is it forces us to solve complex problems to keep those humans alive. We have to have efficient water and food and recycling, and yes, the toilet should work, right? These are the things that we try to figure out, and then we create that technology here on Earth, and we spin that technology off so that we become more efficient. I call it solving for space is solving for Earth, and that's why humans need to go.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I can't even solve the problem of a toilet in my condo, so I can only imagine what it's like in space. I do want to say we are less than 10 minutes right now.
We had that issue too, so they're not the first. It seems like that's the running theme. Just bring a plumber with you on every mission.
Hashtag homeowner problems for sure. So I just want to note before we get to our final question, we are less than 10 minutes away for Orion's crew module separating from the service module. We're going to bring that to you, and that's when the heat shield will be exposed for the first time as we are heading toward getting into that 3,000 degree Fahrenheit. Let's call it the hot blaster. It's like the big hair blower times a million. So, Brendan, I know we have one more question. Cyan, we're really enjoying your conversation today.
Yeah, we could talk for the rest of the program if we had the time to, but I guess last question would be something along the lines of, what was your reentry experience like? We talked about it being kind of bittersweet, but when you're in the spacecraft coming back from Earth, what is that 10, 15 minutes like? What's going through your head? And then is there relief once you're done with the re-entry procedure and you're back on the ground? Just kind of talk to that a little bit.
Yeah, I loved reentry because it was so dynamic. Same thing, you're coming in, you've got all this energy in your spacecraft. The first thing you have to do for us, it was kick the trunk off, and then you reorient with your heat shield so that you're coming in with that into the atmosphere. You chill down the capsule because, like you said, it's getting hot as you go into the atmosphere, and your heat shield starts to heat up and ablate and bring and reduce that energy that you're coming in with. The capsule actually gets warmer, so you chill it down, you get into your spacesuits like we saw them in, and you saw in that the commander and the mission pilot, and so I was on the right seat where Victor is sitting. You're watching and you're monitoring everything, making sure that the flight computers are doing what they're supposed to do, and you're following everything, but you're going to have that blackout, and that's one of the most intense parts because it's one of the the areas where if something goes wrong, you don't have communications with the home. And I remember going through that, and when you come out of your blackout period, you just want it. You're like, okay, are we going to hear SpaceX? In this case, they're going to be like, okay, are we going to hear NASA? And then when that comes, they come in and they're like, and you reply to them. It's kind of like a relief moment. But then the technical things happen. You have to have your drogues, which are like little mini parachutes that help control the main parachutes when they come out. Those have to come out, and your mains, and you want healthy main parachutes. And it was only until Jared and I, because we're the ones who could see the monitor. Jared Isaacman, who is the new NASA administrator, was my commander for SpaceX Inspiration 4. I remember because I have the parachutes on my monitor, and when we got those healthy parachutes open up, you could just feel it in the spacecraft. And I remember Jared, talking to us and saying, "That's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." We all kind of chuckled because, that's when you kind of get a moment to relax. Because you haven't splashed down yet, but you're under these healthy mains and you're floating down and you're coming down and you're just kind of like, that you're going to hit the water and it's going to be okay, and they're going to be there waiting for you. And that it's such a beautiful moment for the crew right before splashdown, and you kind of can take that moment and breathe, knowing that your mission is coming to an end, and that you're about to re-enter society and everybody, and then you feel the splashdown and you bob up, and for me it really was a phoenix rising moment. It was that
Lovely.
our mission is complete, and for me, I became the first Black woman to pilot a spaceship, so it was super special.
You go,
moment.
girl.
Yeah, and for these guys, it's gonna be just so beautiful for them, and we're all gonna cheer everywhere around the world. We're gonna cheer for them and the fact that they're home and safe, and that's the moment that I'm so excited for.
You and me and Brendan and everybody that's watching, thank you so much, Dr. Cyan Proctor from the Inspiration 4 mission.
Thanks
we
so
were
much.
so happy to have you today, and we appreciate your input.
Thank you so much. Happy go Artemis II crew.
Woohoo! Yes, for sure. Looking for that Earthlight. Well, we are going to take a break, and when we come back, we have Alex Cheney joining us from KFMB. That is our sister station in San Diego. You are watching Artemis II Return to the Moon here, streaming live across the country. Welcome back, and thank you so much for joining us for this live coverage of a historic event. I know we keep saying historic, but really we are living history right now, and we are seeing something that many of us might have only dreamed of when we were younger, or maybe future generations will look and say, I am definitely inspired. I am so happy to welcome in Brendan Minchef from KXTV, or excuse me, actually we are going to have right now Alex Cheney at Naval Station North Island in California from our sister station in San Diego, KFMB. Alex, how does it feel right now? I mean, what a beautiful shot behind you. I'm a little bit jealous with the California weather.
Hey, Meredith, yeah, I'm sorry, I don't mean to rub it in, but it feels pretty great outside right now. Great conditions for a splashdown. And so right now we are awaiting that Artemis II rocket to come on down, and it's going to in just a little bit here, and we're very excited for it, Meredith.
So what have you been doing all day leading up to this? Have you been out at the Naval Yard? Have you been talking to anybody? Are there people that you've spoke to that are just anticipating that splashdown? Even though it's going to be further offshore, they won't necessarily see it, but I'm sure they can feel that energy coming in.
Oh, absolutely. You know, we went out to the Oceanside Pier just yesterday, which is kind of in the North County, San Diego area, and I talked to several people who are so excited. As you said on that intro, this is history. I mean, this is an incredible thing that's going to be happening, and yes, it is going to be well off to sea, but we are hoping, especially on a beautiful day like this, that we're actually going to be able to see the lander, the capsule be coming on down. What have we been doing today? Well, it took a little while to get on base, first off, and then, yeah, talked to a few people. We talked to a Navy captain, one of the lieutenants. He told us about the medical assessments that they're going to have to go through once those astronauts do eventually land, and the process of then getting the capsule back onto the USS Mertha, and then actually by tomorrow they're going to bring the capsule right back here to Naval Base San Diego, Meredith.
I have a final question. I always like to ask this to reporters at these events. What is going through your mind right now being there, and what should everybody take from this moment as we are in those final minutes of this journey? Hard to believe it's here after 10 days.
You know, Meredith, as you know, in this career, so many times we are offered the opportunity to see history, and that's exactly what I have today. I mean, it's kind of hard to have a front row seat because, of course, it is 50 miles out to sea, but that's how I feel right now. I think people should be excited. I mean, it's incredible to send 4 human beings into outer space, send them around the dark side of the moon, and then bring them home safely. I mean, that is an incredible achievement of not just the USA, not just Canada, but I mean the entire human race to be able to do that. One little thing could go wrong, and things could go really wrong on this mission, but we are able to see it through, make it happen, and it is really just an incredible achievement, Meredith.
Thank you so much. That's Alex Cheney at the Naval Station North Island near San Diego, California. We're going to check back in with you in a little bit because we want to take you right now out to our NASA live feed. The descent has begun, the final chapter, everything that we have been waiting for this whole journey. You're getting a live look right now inside Mission Control in Houston. Now, just remember, all of these men and women that are there have been working hard, taking shifts, becoming a team to bring our astronauts home safely. Rick Henfling, the flight director, we interviewed him on our station at WBNS here in Columbus, Ohio. Him and his team have been training and waiting for this mission. You can see that in the background. They are monitoring everything about this. Now, just to give you a little bit of history of what's been going on, at 7:33 p.m., Orion's crew module separated from the service module. So now the heat shield is out there and is getting ready for that return through Earth's atmosphere. Remember, the heat shield has to protect the Orion from temperatures of about 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. So just a few minutes ago, following that separation, Orion had to perform an 18-second crew module, and this was a raised burn. It began to set that proper angle and kind of put us on track as we make that descent. And what it has to do is, just like think about putting a puzzle piece together, how you have to align it correctly for it to come together. You have to align this for the heat shield to be in the proper direction, so when it comes into the atmosphere, it's able to interact with the heat, which, as we know, it's like a big fireball that pretty much surrounds the capsule, and it is going to be exposed, coming in really, really hot. I mean, we're talking at tens of thousands of miles per hour, and eventually we need to slow it down to about 20 miles per hour as it makes that approach to splash down in the Pacific Ocean. But coming up in about less than 20 minutes, Orion's going to reach 400,000 feet above the surface. And it's literally, if you can imagine this, is going 35 times the speed of sound. So what the crew's going to expect, I know we've been getting a lot of questions in, they get up to 3.9 Gs in that planned entry profile. So basically, that's going to be the moment the spacecraft first connects with the upper atmosphere, and that's going to start this planned 6-minute communications blackout. And the reason for that is we are seeing plasma build around the capsule. So you think of plasma, you might think of volcanoes, you might think of that eruption of plasma out there. This is plasma in the atmosphere that forms, and what that's doing is almost sealing itself around the capsule, so we can't communicate with the astronauts, and the astronauts can't communicate with us. And so we are going to bring back in Brendan Minchef. He is co-hosting with me today, and you know, this is the moment we've all been waiting for, and I think, and I've seen a lot of our questions come in, there is a lot of nervousness still about the heat shield with what we saw with the testing with Artemis I back in 2022 and where we are now today. And NASA has given it a go. NASA is very confident about this, but there's still a lot of people that have questions of, is it going to hold up against the heat after having some issues with that testing?
Yes, and there's, I suppose, always questions with spaceflight, right? You can never be 100% certain of anything, and you can never eliminate all the risks. But if NASA wasn't more confident than not that the heat shield was going to hold up and that their redesigned re-entry procedure for Artemis II, based on what they learned from Artemis I, if they weren't more confident than not that it was going to go just fine, they would not have even launched the astronauts on Artemis II. Now, like I said, they did change some things, though. They were trying what's called a skip re-entry procedure on Artemis I. So essentially, instead of going directly into the atmosphere on re-entry, you bounce once and then come back in, almost like skipping a stone off of a pond. And what that does is it allows for more speed to be shaved off before you begin the actual re-entry of the spacecraft itself. But there were some things that were learned with Artemis I. There was too much heat in there, and it didn't allow for some of the gases to escape from the heat shield, and that made some pieces chip off. But Meredith, we've talked a lot about re-entry, and I know NASA's thought a lot about re-entry, but again, if they were not more confident than not that this was going to work, then they wouldn't have even put the astronauts up there in the first place.
I mean, this is space, and we know that. That's the fact out there. And so just like anything else in life, you test, you work really hard, and we are really looking forward to the safe return of our astronauts. I mean, I was looking at an article I was reading on space.com, and they described it as 8 dramatic minutes. I mean, it's hard to believe after a journey of hours and days, over 10 days span, we're now down to those final minutes where we're going to have to get our astronauts safely through the atmosphere. I mean, these are the final 100 miles of a nearly 700,000 mile journey that they've taken, and this is the most dangerous. And this is the time when I am sure from those astronauts, as they're coming in, they're about 75 miles above Earth. So think about it. If you're driving somewhere that's 75 miles, you're almost there. You can see the end of that road, but now it's going to be that point where we have to let the heat shield do its work. But we also want to talk a little bit more about that. And we were able to talk to several people about the heat shield, looking back at Artemis I and where we are now. We were able to speak to Jim Free. You might have remembered him from our coverage earlier. And so we want to hear a little bit more from Jim about his heat shield concern. So take a listen.
When Ryan came back, heat shield, everybody flipped it over because that was everybody wanted to see what was going on with that. When you first saw it, what did you think?
He saw some of the material removed that we did not expect. So my first thought was, obviously we're going to have to get to the bottom of this before we think about what's next. And I think what was stressed from the beginning from the NASA administrator at the time, Senator Nelson, was, hey, let's not jump to what we're going to do next until we understand root cause. And I think that's a great characteristic of NASA in general, but this team. And they found the root cause, found a path forward that we could fly Artemis II without changing out the heat shield entirely and still keep the crew well within the safety parameters. So I think that was a huge step.
What was the root cause?
Basically, it was there were some cracks that developed in the heat shield, and in those cracks, the gas would accumulate and then cause the material to be liberated from the heat shield. Now, even with some of that material gone, the bond line or the interface where the heat shield material bolts onto the structure, that temperature has a 500 degree Fahrenheit limit. It never got above 180 degrees. But I think now, having understood that root cause and know how to fly, because it's all how you enter the atmosphere, the path at which you take, the angle, whether we do this skip entry, which Orion does. If you limit the angle at which you come in, then it limits how far downrange you can go, which limits your landing attempts, but you still stay within the temperature limits that you need to for Artemis II. That's what they have planned.
So they're not going to do the skip entry?
They're going to do a shallower skip.
Okay.
So.
And that was Chief Meteorologist Betsy Kling at our sister station in Cleveland, Ohio. And remember, Jim Free was the former NASA Associate Administrator. While we've heard a lot of positives from NASA, there have also been some pushback or some concerns coming from other people. And we actually were able to get a statement from Charles Camarda. Now, you might remember him. He was a former NASA astronaut and an engineer that was on the Space Shuttle mission STS-114. And this is what he had to say when we asked him about the heat shield. And he emailed us this. He was not able to join us today, but he said, quote, "I feel the decision to fly with this heat shield is irresponsible and is something the Apollo engineers 60 years ago would not have agreed to do. Flying without understanding is like playing Russian roulette without knowing how many bullets are in the chamber," unquote. Again, that was Charles Camarda, NASA astronaut. He sent that to us. And Brendan, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, again, we know that there's been a lot of planning that goes into this, but there still is that question, can they get through with a shield that had issues before?
There's always that question, right? And who am I to question an astronaut, I suppose, not being one myself and not having to rely on the integrity of Integrity's heat shield to get the astronauts back home. But again, you just feel like if there was really any doubt or uncertainty, if they didn't feel like they corrected some of the issues with the redesigned skip re-entry for Artemis II, then they wouldn't have put the astronauts up there. There's also an aspect of Artemis II is a test flight. We're not landing on the moon. We're testing the Orion capsule's ability to get astronauts to the moon and back home safely, and not saying that necessarily they would jeopardize astronauts' lives to do this, of course, but this is a learning experience for everyone around, and unfortunately, with some learning experiences, there's some risks associated with that. But again, there's a lot of really smart people working at NASA to solve some of these complicated problems.
Absolutely. I mean, again, you could go both ways. I mean, I'm not an engineer, you're not an engineer, but as always, there's going to be two sides to every story, but we are staying positive. And we did speak with NASA about this to ask where they're at as our astronauts are coming home. Take a listen.
What I'll say is, through the testing that we've done after Artemis 1 and the work that we've done here on the ground, we understand the limitations of the heat shield on Artemis 2, and it's incumbent upon us to fly within those limitations. So things that we've changed, right? We've changed the entry profile so that we're flying a profile that the heat shield can handle. And we're also ensuring that we launch on a day where the demands of the heat shield are lower. And so, really that turns into a range requirement to fly, not the 4,000 miles of entry that we flew on Artemis 1, but the 1,775 miles of entry that we're flying on Artemis 2. And so, the heat shield, yes, we understand there's some limitations with it, and so from a mission design perspective, we're making sure that we fly within those limitations, and that's how we're going to keep the crew safe. We're going to make sure that we're staying within the bounds of the hardware, and I think as John mentioned, the heat shield is being I don't want to say redesigned, but it's being updated for Artemis 3 to try and get back to that longer range requirement that we'll be able to meet for those future Artemis missions. But for Artemis 2, of course, we've got that lower range, which is why we have fewer launch opportunities. That we're making Charlie's life a little bit harder by not having as many days we can launch on. But that's the right thing to do to keep our crew safe.
Speaking there was Jeff Radigan with NASA, and I do want to put out a fun fact for all of our Ohio viewers. Jeff Radigan graduated from Ohio State University, and actually back in 2024, I had the privilege of meeting him and his wife as they were part of the NASA halftime show at an Ohio State game. And, it's always good to see locals in all of our viewing areas going out and doing great things. But, again, there's a little bit of both sides to let you know where we are at with the heat shield. And we can talk about that coming up in a little bit more, Brandon.
Yeah, NASA is all over the country, and people build things for NASA all over the country. And we're broadcasting all over the country this evening. Stay with us. We've got more after the break.
Welcome back. It is 7:53 Eastern Time, and this is a very exciting moment because right now, Orion is reaching 400,000 feet above Earth's surface, traveling nearly 35 times the speed of sound. And this is really, Brendan, the moment the spacecraft's first contact with the upper atmosphere, and it's the start of a planned 6-minute communications blackout. So, wow. Look at these views. I'm taking this in for the first time, and I'm sure you are too.
Yeah, it's quite something to see the live look on the NASA stream, and you can see the clouds and just how high above, obviously, they are. They've begun the re-entry interface at this point, and this whole thing is going to take a little longer than 10 minutes, and for 6 of those minutes, we have LOS, or loss of signal. Now, it's planned because of how hot the capsule gets, over 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit, generated by friction by this capsule coming back in to Earth's atmosphere. As you had mentioned earlier, Meredith, almost 4 Gs. That is 4 times the Earth's gravity that these astronauts are going to feel. And it just envelops the capsule in a plasma envelope. And because it's ionized, which means it's charged, we can't pull signal out of that capsule. We can't hear anything from the capsule, which is why we have that planned blackout. Now, when the astronauts emerge lower in the atmosphere, speeds start to slow down, that plasma disappears as the temperatures come down, and we will reacquire that signal. But pretty soon we will have 6 minutes of expected blackout.
Yes. So the feed, just to let you know, has been coming in and out. We were just checking with our team, and we'll let you know as soon as we enter that 6-minute window. We haven't gotten word yet that we are there just yet, but I'm sure getting close, as you can see when that stream starts to get out. Actually, we just have confirmation that just came in that they are in that blackout period. So just to let you know at home that are watching, we are not going to be able to have any communications from mission control from the astronauts. Again, you can look at the live screen here. This is what's coming back from them. We are going to, again, we have minutes more of this, just so you know if you are just joining us. We have about 4.5 minutes left of blackout, and then we will be able to reconnect with the astronauts, and then we head toward the parachute freeze, which is actually really, really exciting. And Brendan, while we are waiting, we're going to go into some viewer questions, and I had one that came in about, what's going on as far as the parachute deployment. So the whole goal, I'll answer that question, is they need to slow the capsule descent to under 20 miles per hour to get down to that lighter splashdown phase, so it's safe. Thankfully, the weather conditions, as we talked about earlier, just off the coast of San Diego, I mean, you have very minimal waves out there, which is good. You have good weather. I mean, your typical California dreaming weather, so that's a good news. The astronauts will be coming back to that. But there's going to be a series of parachutes, just under a dozen parachutes that are going to be deployed over a series, and we're going to be seeing that happen again right after that. And that happens about 22,000 feet in altitude. You're going to have the first round of parachutes deploy, and that's what's going to slow and stabilize the capsule as Orion nears splashdown. So really appreciate that question. I know it's such an exciting part, and this right here is a visualization that you're seeing. This is not the actual view. Remember, we are still in blackout right now. We are probably down to about just over 3 minutes left until we will reconnect with our astronauts. But Brendan, hard to believe this is happening right now, and I can't even begin to imagine what's going through their heads. I couldn't even imagine. I mean, it must be the most terrifying moment of their life, to be honest.
Well, I guess it depends on who you ask, because we heard from Dr. Proctor earlier that, re-entry for her was a blast. She really enjoyed it, and it was, bittersweet to be coming back home and giving up, your trip to outer space. But of course, you want to come back home, right? And that's the whole point. Is
right.
We're not launching expendable rovers or probes or satellites. I mean, these are people that have lives, and they're coming back to it. They're doing their jobs. But I think it's really remarkable. I got a little stat here. When they re-enter the Earth's atmosphere, moon missions come back at about 7 miles per second. That is a lot of energy and a lot of speed. They got to slow it down to under 20 miles per hour by the time that they actually splash down in the ocean. And that's why, going back to the chutes question, that's why there are so many chutes that open, because you've got to burn off all that speed, you've got to get rid of all that energy, and you got to get these astronauts back home safely, because you can't hit the ocean going at a high rate of speed, because it's not survivable. We'll put it that way.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, I'm sure it's not just the astronauts that are nervous. I'm sure every single person in that control room, getting reports and looking at it, that there's a lot of nervous faces, and that's normal. this is something they are seeing for the first time with a new capsule, with a heat shield coming in that has had some problems in the past. And, they're now starting to slow to about 4,000 miles per hour right now. So just remember, they came from 25,000 miles per hour, but now we're getting to slowing 14,000 miles per hour. So this is good. So we're making progress. We're moving along. And, for these astronauts, they're just in there. They are waiting. They know they cannot connect with us here right now. And I am sure they are anticipating that moment when they're going to be able to hear mission control in their ear and talk to them about what's going on. But, this is the moment everyone's been waiting for. They are coming home. Think about it, Brendan. After 9 days in space and seeing things they have never seen before, things they may have not have even dreamed of, they were able to see with their own 2 eyes. And now after this chapter, once they get into the parachutes, they know they're going to come home and tell those stories for the rest of their lives. I can't even fathom that. That almost brings tears to my eyes.
I know, it's the greatest excursion you can have, right? I mean, 10 days, you get to see the moon, far side of the moon, you get an eclipse out of it as well, and you come back home. But, I mean, these are a nerve-wracking few minutes, waiting for that reacquisition of integrity signal, getting word that they're trying to reestablish communication with the spacecraft now. And very soon we will find out. But another note on that heat shield, they are redesigning it for Artemis III and moving forward. So they know that there have been issues with the Artemis I heat shield. Artemis II has the same type of heat shield design, so they're redesigning it a little bit. They're tweaking it for Artemis III and moving forward. So hopefully some of these issues that they've had in the past and that they've had to work around to bring Artemis II home, it should not be an issue going forward. I mean, the toilet is one of the things that they're probably going to end up also reworking for future missions, as well as some leaky helium valves in the service module itself, the European Space Agency service module. That's something that NASA has said that they'll take a look at for future Artemis missions as early as Artemis IV. So we are still waiting for reacquisition of Artemis II signal right now. So.
Oh my gosh!
And it looks like they're back.
Oh my gosh!
Houston,
we have just gotten reports. Loud and clear. Trajectory is perfect. Oh my gosh! I'm sure everyone watching right now, you are cheering at home with us, just getting that confirmation. Oh my gosh! I have chills. I'm sure we're gonna see everybody jump up and down really soon. I'm taking a deep breath with everybody at home, and I'm sure you as well, Brendan.
Yeah.
We want to take a listen in for you and let you hear what's happening.
As voice communication reestablished with Commander Reed Wiseman. For America and a waiting world, integrity is 5.5 minutes away from coming home. Passing 100,000 feet now. Range to splashdown 19 nautical miles.
Integrity impact to the camera controller fail is no Cab 1 views of the chutes.
Integrity.
We're processing good data through the GPS system. A good view of integrity, time to splashdown 4.5 minutes. And a view of integrity from the WB-57. We're at 50,000 feet. The pyros are armed for forward bay cover jettison. And there go the first series of parachutes. And we're on drogues.
And Houston, we're visual 2 drogues out the window.
2 good drogue shoots. Next up,
We copy. We see them.
the deployment of pilot parachutes that will pull the main chutes out. Time to splash down 3 minutes and 10 seconds. Perfect descent rate according to flight dynamics.
Good rates on 2 drogues.
We see the same on board.
Passing through 10,000 feet, still on drogues. Main chute deploy. We're at 5,000 feet. Search and recovery beacon has been activated on integrity. And we have 3 good main chutes. Good 3 main chutes, good reefing, good descent rate.
Good rates, and we see 3 good-looking parachutes. Integrity. Cabin pressure indicates no need for hydrazine checks.
Integrity copies.
This is a perfect descent for integrity. Its crew sounding hale and hearty on board. Time to splash down 1 minute, 15 seconds. Integrity about to complete a journey spanning 694,481 miles from its launch from the Kennedy Space Center back on April 1st, and a trip around the moon. Passing through 1,000 feet.
Houston Integrity, splashdown, sending post-landing command now.
Splashdown confirmed.
Copy splashdown, waiting on VLDR.
Splashdown confirmed at 7:07 p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time. From the pages of Jules Verne to a modern-day mission to the moon, a new chapter of the exploration of our celestial neighbor is complete. Integrity's astronauts back on Earth. And the landing and support officer reports the vehicle is stable 1. We still will be deploying the crew module uprighting system to maintain that orientation. A perfect bullseye splashdown for Integrity and its 4 astronauts.
Wow. Wow. I'm probably as emotional as all of you are watching this with us right now. What you just witnessed was a full circle, historic, even nail-biting a little bit mission of Artemis II, bringing our astronauts home after a almost 700,000-mile journey from Earth to around the moon, and now back landing off the coast of San Diego in the Pacific Ocean. The return is complete. You know, I think we could give you a bunch of stats here, but I think Brendan and I want to take a moment and just share with you how we felt so you know that you're not alone in this. We just witnessed something so powerful and something that represents so much for America, for our future generations. And, you know, just watching those parachutes deploy and knowing they got through the hardest point of their trip and they were able to practically parasail their way on down with a bunch of parachutes. Wow. If you know me, you know it doesn't take moments like this. I don't get lost at words or babble like this, but what I just witnessed and what you all just witnessed, I'm sure you can agree, Brendan, that definitely it leaves you speechless. It leaves you proud to be an American, and it leaves you excited for what is to come with space exploration, because we just did it.
Mission accomplished now. Yeah, I mean, that was the biggest. I mean, they did everything else that they set out to do, and then you had to come home, and you had to land safely, and they did. And so now you can put a big check mark next to Artemis II, complete success. Yeah, the space program Artemis, these astronauts, they're the very best of what I think we are as a country, of what we represent, of science. It shows the importance of working as a team, and it's important to remember too that it wasn't just NASA that did this. It's an international effort. The European Space Agency built the service module that was, until just a few minutes ago before re-entry, was powering integrity through space. And obviously we have Jeremy Hansen. He's a Canadian Space Agency astronaut, and then our lunar landers, which we didn't see on this mission, but we will see as soon as we get to Artemis 3, hopefully next year. SpaceX is building one, and Blue Origin is building one. So this is a public-private partnership, and also one to work with our international partners. And just seeing those chutes deploy. It's very emotional, because there were questions about the heat shield. You got really attached to these 4 humans over the last several days, seeing them blast off into space and go to the moon and experiencing, what's now been dubbed moon joy. And it's been such a bright spot in the world. And I think not just probably you and I, Meredith, but I think a lot of people. I mean, my social media feed has been full of people that have really been enjoying the Artemis II missions, people that maybe aren't always, in the nitty-gritty with space. But everybody was tuned in for this one. Everybody was enjoying the science, and everybody is thrilled that they are home safe and sound.
I mean, you could not have asked for more of a beautiful finish like that. And, I'm sure you, like myself, when we were in that window when there was that blackout. I mean, so many thoughts going through your mind. But, I think it's a reminder that we just have to keep the faith with life, and keep the faith that we will always get through whatever we do in life. And sometimes we have dreams that there may be challenges. I mean, if you look back at Artemis 1, we had challenges we faced. There was the heat shield. There was all the delays. We had, delays because of weather. We had delays because of, testing. But we persevered. And a mission like this is something to inspire all of us. It doesn't matter what age you are. It doesn't matter how old you are, how much experience you have on space knowledge. It's a beautiful thing that we were all able to come together as a nation and to view 4 astronauts go out and do something that is a first in more than 50 years. I mean, it's the first crewed mission beyond low Earth orbit since Apollo 17 in 1972.
Right.
But like Apollo 8, this mission is a lunar flyby. It was, and it broke so many records, but records aside, I mean, this gives us hope. This gives us hope of what we are going to accomplish in the future. And I think you said it best, Brendan, teamwork. I mean, not just the team on the Orion, the team behind the scenes, the crews that were there when they were launching at Kennedy Space Center, the crews that are here heading out right now, because just so you know that there are teams from NASA and the United States military that are actually going to extract the crew from Orion and fly them via helicopter to the USS John P. Murtha. But right now, you know, we're waiting for them to get out there. And again, I'm somebody that doesn't get speechless a lot, but watching this and looking at these images still right now, I mean, I kind of wonder what the vibe is, Brendan, in there of the astronauts. I mean, they must be whooping and hooting and hollering. I mean, I might be like, give me a shot of oxygen right now, because I can't believe we just did that. We did something great, and in the name of humanity.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, they set out to, and they accomplished what they set out to do, and they're back home safely. And now they get to tell the stories to all of us, and they get to speak to the media, and get to post on social media again with normal internet speeds, as opposed to your throttled bandwidth up in space. But you get to see your family, right, who also makes sacrifices and supports your dream and your career of being an astronaut. There's a lot of training. We talked about this earlier. There's a lot of training here on Earth before you even get to the launch pad, and then there's training on the launch pad. There's training in Houston and in Cape Canaveral, and and when you get up to space, and then you're putting all that training to good use, and it is quite an accomplishment. It is quite remarkable. We haven't done this with humans in 50 years, and there's always the skeptics, I suppose, and maybe, we didn't land on the moon, Call me back when we land on the moon. But this is not even step one. This is step maybe 50 in steps, and there's 100 steps that we have to get to. And this, because it was such a success, sets the groundwork for future Artemis missions, for Artemis III, which is hopefully next year, and we'll test our lunar landers, and then we will land on the moon again with Artemis IV in the first half of 2028, and then we're just going to keep going back and building on that. Each mission that's a success is a stepping stone that builds for the next mission. So this is the fact that they went out and did everything they wanted to do, the fact that they went to space, they came home safely. All the systems worked as expected, notwithstanding the toilet necessarily. That's probably going to need a little work. But it's all good news. It's all good news. Yeah.
I mean, space plumbers, anyone? Hey, kids, if you're watching and you want to be a plumber, think about it. You can help fix toilets in space. That's inspiring right there. That's for sure. Brendan, we've loved having you on this coverage.
Right.
I know we are going to pass the baton, but is there anything you'd like to say, or any last reactions or thoughts on what we just witnessed? Because, again, I couldn't see your face and you couldn't see mine, but I can only imagine you were just as emotional as me.
Yeah. I didn't think I'd maybe be as nervous as I was, when they're in that blackout period and you're just like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to hear from them again. I can't wait for them to be back. And it's just absolute relief. It was reminiscent of what I felt when I was watching them launch a little more than a week ago. Is you want to see that rocket go up, you want to see the solid rocket boosters fall off properly, and everything went off without a hitch, and that's how it ended up coming back too. But I just really want to reiterate too that this is the best of who we are and what we can do. These space missions, between the teamwork that's needed and the science that goes into it, and this doesn't happen by accident. This happens because a lot of smart people put their minds to it and make it happen. And I really think that we look back on the Apollo missions with reverence for the astronauts and for what they accomplished, and for the astronauts that we lost along the way, such as in Apollo 1 and the near tragedy that was Apollo 13, the successful failure. But we look back on Apollo with reverence. We are going to get to the same place with Artemis. We're going to look back on these astronauts that were on Artemis II. We're going to look back at the astronauts on Artemis 3 and 4 and 5, and we're going to look at them as heroes because they are trailblazing for us. They're pushing humanity beyond previous limits, and it's just remarkable. And it's so exciting to get to witness history like this. As a space nerd, I grew up in Central Florida and got to watch space shuttle launches, and it's an incredible feeling to watch all that and to be able to live it right now alongside all of you. It's just fantastic. And thank you so much for having me on. And I'll sign off, but I will sign off by saying, go Artemis.
Thank you so much. That was fantastic. And again, that was Brendan Minchef from our sister station in Sacramento. And if you are just joining us, we have had a successful landing in the Pacific Ocean of the Artemis II crew and the Orion. It slowed down to about 20 miles per hour when all was said and done before splashing down in the ocean off the coast of San Diego. That completes the finale of the crew's return to Earth after making a nearly 700,000-mile journey from here to around the moon and back. And what you are looking at right now is we are seeing that capsule. They're kind of sitting there. They're kind of bobbing like a cork in the ocean. And they're going to be waiting as teams from NASA and the United States military will come out to extract the crew from Orion. And then it will fly them with a helicopter to the USS John P. Murtha. We have been seeing some great things coming from the crews out there. And of course, we are bringing you all this coverage here. We're going to have some more interviews coming up. But just so you know, to give you a little bit of a perspective, within 2 hours after the splashdown, that's when the extraction will take place. Now, the recovery teams actually will retrieve the crew. It will bring them onto an inflatable raft and then use helicopters to deliver them to the ship. And then once they get aboard that ship, the astronauts have to start that post-mission medical evaluation. Remember, they're going to be going through a lot. They might be going through nausea, maybe dizziness, and maybe even just need a moment to lay down and just take in and process that. I can only imagine the mental toll, the excitement, the stress that had on them. But it's definitely been a very, very fantastic journey, and we are so glad that you are joining us. Right now, we do want to welcome in Tim Buckley. He's a meteorologist at WFMY. That is our sister station in Greensboro, North Carolina. Hi, Tim. I was watching you in chat while we were having this discussion. What was your reaction? I'm curious because you heard Brendan and I. We were both totally just mind blown and emotional at what we were able to just witness.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing, Meredith. Thanks for having me. And it's going to be exciting to chat here over the next 90 minutes as we continue to see the recovery process. But I'll tell you, what we were watching in the newsroom here was step by step. And some of the most nervous moments, I'm sure you guys had the same thing, was when we had the planned blackout, which lasted about 6 minutes. Everything went according to schedule. But even when you know the schedule, it's emotional. You know the risks involved. And when they first got back on the radio to say, yep, Houston, we're here, we're reporting, everything's fine, that was the kind of the moment of relief. And then you had the parachutes.
We do not have a problem.
We had the second round of parachutes. We don't have a problem. That was great. So I think it's emotional for everybody, don't you?
Oh my gosh, Tim. I mean, like I said, I think for generations that have seen launches before from the shuttle era, for those of us that have watched over the last 50 years, this is different. I mean, this is something with new generation, with new equipment, with new technology, and we were able to make it happen. I think one of the biggest things we continue to talk about is just the teamwork that went into this. I mean, you have so many different men and women across the country and even some minds from across the world coming together to make this happen. And you have 4 astronauts that have trusted the people they have worked with, whether it was on the phone or a Zoom or in person. And, it just... I don't know about you, I just had goosebumps. And I still have goosebumps looking at this right now. You can see the boats approaching right there. Like, I mean, again, I try to put myself in their shoes or their spacesuits, I guess, in this case, and just try to think what's going through their mind. Like, are they waving really excited and saying, hey, come pick us up, we want to get out of this? Or, amen, thank you, God, this happened. We are safe, we are sitting here in the ocean, and we are going to get to come home and tell this story and inspire generations to come.
Just a big moment of relief. And what a moment, you know, you and I are both meteorologists. You're a space expert. I'm space interested. I wouldn't call myself a space expert. But just in the field and the realms of science and math, this is the Super Bowl. This is a big stage. And this, you know, they said we are going to come back to Earth at this speed, at this trajectory. It's going to splash down at 8:07. It's going to be right near the Navy ship that we said it's going to be by. And all of those things have happened. And we understand this ahead of time that it should work, but it just proves that we can figure these things out. And I think it's a great testament to science and learning and math and all these things. And that's the science part. There's the human part that we're going to learn a lot more of in the next hour, hopefully when we start to see them emerging and getting reunited with other Earthlings, which I'm excited to see as well as they get out of that floating little crew on the Pacific Ocean.
Oh my gosh, I know. I mean, there's so much excitement that has brought us to this moment. And then there was, I'm sure for a lot of people, the fear, the nervousness, but I think you said it well. I mean, we can accomplish anything we set our minds to. And I think this is something that for the younger generations that are watching us right now, and I think you could probably extend it to the older generations, the adults that are sitting here and maybe seeing something like this for the first time, or maybe getting reminiscent of all the way back to the beginning of the space race. I mean, we accomplished something huge, and there were doubters, and there were haters out there, and there was some of the negative things that came out about this mission. But this mission proved them wrong. And you can see right now as it sits there and bobs, as the Orion capsule is in the Pacific Ocean, like I said, with faith, with hard work, with integrity, with curiosity. I mean, I'm starting to name some of our previous missions here. All of those words just come into the inspiration that comes behind this, and that, Tim, like you said, as scientists, but also as human beings, we can really take this moment to be grateful for what we can accomplish together as a nation, but also what we can accomplish together as a community.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, we're just seeing this in real time. We're watching with everybody back at ready to get reunited.
NASA Administrator Jarek Isaacman.
Across the country that contributed to this incredible moment right now. And yeah, incredibly grateful too for our teams here on the John P. Murtha right now.
Yeah, look at them behind us here.
We've got everybody. Hey, what do you guys think? We just brought some astronauts back from the moon, huh? Unbelievable. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, so grateful to the Navy, the sailors that are here, the NASA teams. I mean, this is a joint effort that's on their way right now. These recovery forces are getting out to our Orion spacecraft, to Integrity, to get our astronauts back on the ship safely.
Yeah, and this is not just an accomplishment for NASA. This is an accomplishment for humanity. Again, a historic mission to the moon and back. How does this make you feel, and what do you hope people take away from this?
Well, I'll tell you, I think about the crew members that we've all had an opportunity to observe over the last 10 days, right? I mean, they're absolutely professional astronauts. I mean, wonderful communicators, almost poets. But then I think these were the ambassadors from humanity to the stars that we sent out there right now. And I can't imagine a better crew than the Artemis II crew that just completed a perfect mission right now. So yes, it's a huge moment for everybody, right? I mean, we are back in the business of sending astronauts to the moon, bringing them back safely, and to set up for a series more anymore. I mean, this is not a once in a lifetime, which you hear sometimes around here. It's like, this was a once in a lifetime. No, it's not. This is just the beginning. We are going to get back into doing this with frequency, sending missions to the moon until we land on it in 2028 and start building our base.
Yeah, are we going to build on the momentum for Artemis III? I mean, it's just around the corner.
Absolutely. So, I mean, that's, part of me too. I can't wait to get the crew off of Integrity right now, but also getting Integrity back on this ship so we can start taking a look at it, because all that data is so precious to us right now. I mean, we are going to definitely want to take a good look at the thermal protection system. We're going to want to download all the data they couldn't transmit back to us and use that to inform Artemis III. But we're already making progress, right? You had SRB segments already showing up at KSC. Core stage for Artemis III is rolling out on April 20th. We're getting Mobile Launcher 1 back in vehicle assembly building. So yes, there is a lot to celebrate right now on a mission well accomplished for Artemis II, and at the same time, we got to start getting ready for 3.
Amazing. And last question, for people who joined us for all 10 days to see what we can accomplish together with our international partners, what do you think about the fact that we're going to keep doing this more and more and more?
It's incredibly exciting. I mean, yes, it's the contributions, like the best and brightest across the NASA workforce from across the country, our industry partners, our international partners. We had a Canadian Space Agency astronaut on board in Jeremy. We had the European serve to launching Artemis II. I was meeting with the Italian Space Agency. We signed a memorandum of understanding to build a habitation module on the moon. I mean, you have countries, all of our allies and partners coming together saying, we are committed to this effort. We are returning to the moon. We're doing it to stay. We are building that enduring presence. We are going to master the skills on the surface of the moon so someday we can undertake missions to Mars. It's just an incredibly exciting time, and we're not going at it alone. We're bringing everybody along with us.
Absolutely. And speaking of everyone, one more time, we're going to ask the crew here, you guys ready to land on the moon? Awesome. I love that. Okay, well, thank you so much, Administrator. Appreciate you being here. We're, of course, going to stay on to watch the crew get extracted from Orion, so stay tuned, and we'll see you back here shortly.
Thank you, Megan, and thank you, Administrator Isaacman. We are in the process of working to establish that communications link and to establish the procedures that will lead to the power down of the spacecraft, which is gently bobbing in the Pacific following a bullseye touchdown that occurred at 7:07 p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time, 2.5 hours before sunset in the Pacific, southwest of San Diego. We have once again heard from the crew during that interview opportunity with the administrator, and we have 4 healthy crew members on board. We now have confirmation that the vehicle has been powered down as per the procedures. So we have vehicle powered down, and the flight control team here in Houston, Flight Director Rick Henfling, has handed over mission authority to the Exploration Ground Systems team out in the Pacific. Now, we will physically not get off console with this team until the crew has been extracted into the front porch, that inflatable raft that will be erected along the side hatch of Integrity. So we're standing by for that in the next step in the recovery procedures. But everything is in great shape, and we have 4 healthy crew members on board the vehicle. All of the entry events went by the book, no issues, perfect trajectory for Integrity that was culminated with one final race atmosphere. All of that flight dynamics computation worked like a charm.
And we wanted to make sure to let you know what that process is going to look like. Our astronauts are now home at Earth, but they need to go back home to their family and their friends. And so, Tim, we had a great opportunity from our sister station at KFMB in San Diego. They actually were able to speak to Captain Neil Kruger. He is from Naval Base San Diego. And we want you to really take this all in with us as he spoke about what it's going to look like to get those astronauts back to their normal reality.
Yeah, so John P. Murtha's underway. I'm getting ready to recover the Artemis capsule, and they've been underway since Monday, and just out there kind of getting ready, practicing. And yeah, we're waiting today to find the official location of the splashdown. And,
so how, let's even back up. What do you think about this mission to the moon? The future mission to Mars, just history. We haven't been to the moon since the 70s. It has, created some buzz. It is, however you feel, it's been exciting.
Oh, it's very exciting. Absolutely. Yeah, it's been a long time, and we've been working on this with NASA for about 12 years, working up to this day, Friday, to recover these astronauts when they come back from space.
Wow! In 12 years, what all has happened?
So we've done underway recovery tests, numerous ones over the last decade or so with NASA, just working up to really this event on Friday, where it all comes to a head, and all this practice and rehearsal is going to be put into practice, and we're going to recover these astronauts. So very exciting.
So what goes into the practice then? Where where it will land, or is that all still is it very precise, or is it an approximate location?
It's very precise. That's all NASA. That's not me. I don't determine that, but the practice we do control, and we do underway rehearsals with the ship, the crews, the helicopters, the medical teams, all those assets that are part of the recovery.
Tell me more about what your role will be once it leading up to it, once it lands, what's then the getting them out of there. Give me all the steps.
Okay.
Detail as you can.
So I personally will be up at 3rd Fleet, the fleet headquarters, as we're monitoring the recovery. Once the capsule splashes down in the ocean, the first goal is to go check on the health of the astronauts. We have mobile dive teams to go out there, and then helicopters will extract them from that raft out to the ship and get medical care. So that's the first priority, get the astronauts into medical. And then once we find out they're safe, then the second goal is to recover the capsule. And that's why the amphibious ship John P. Murtha is so unique to this mission, is they have a well deck, so we can tow that into the well deck and recover it, and then NASA can get that back at some point in the future. So
yeah. How, and then there's got to be more steps either before or after. Elaborate on anything that you guys have been practicing. Is there a part that that will take extra care?
I would say, yeah, extra care. So we have 4 helicopters out there on the Murtha, 2 for recovery of the astronauts and 2 for imaging, because NASA's concerned about as the capsule returns to the atmosphere, the heat shield, stuff like that. So we have plenty of assets out there. Extra practice in care of the capsule. So we have a training capsule that we use for practice underway. We did that in January. And so plenty of small boats in the water, dive teams, imaging, stuff like that. So lots of practice. Simulator time, we use simulators to practice recovering the capsule. So I would say extensive training has gone into making sure we're prepared for this day.
And I've kind of seen it in the past, I don't know if it's the same, but they'll climb out of the capsule and then walk, or then will they get onto the raft or right into the helicopter or onto the ship?
Yeah, so the first step is the dive teams will open the hatch. The astronauts will, like you said, climb out into this, it's called the front porch, the raft, floating raft. Make sure they're all good, okay, medically wise, and then the helicopters will come in and lift them off the raft and back onto the flight deck of the ship to get them into medical.
And so they'll be on a rope first, and then be kind of
hoisted up into the helicopter. Yes, correct.
Wow, and then taken here?
No, to the ship first into medical to make sure they're medically okay, checked out, and then they will fly from the ship to North Island, where a NASA jet will take them to Houston. and that's where they go to Houston Johnson Space Center, and they'll do their like media engagements there.
And how, I mean, for San Diego, they took off from Florida, so then we get the return. Like, just how does it feel to be part of this? And for San Diego, and the Navy gets a plug, and like, I mean, it's just really neat.
It is. It's super exciting. You know, I've been in the Navy for a long time, and this is probably the most exciting thing that I've been a part of.
And your specific mission, like as captain, like, you're driving the Martha, or what will?
I am not. No, I'm part of Expeditionary Strike Group 3, so we are in charge of all the amphibious ships on this coast. So Martha is one of our ships, and as operations officer, you know, I'm intimately involved in everything they do. So I will be personally monitoring from 3rd Fleet headquarters all the recovery actions out on the ship.
How far off the coast can the public get any kind of glimpse?
We don't know that yet.
Yeah.
Ideally, it'll be, you know, 50 to 70 miles off the coast, so probably not going to see anything from here. But that won't be determined until later, where the actual splashdown will be.
Probably a better Coast Guard question. I have reached out to them, but how will you like monitor like looky-loos and like people trying to come out and see what they can? Are they going to like keep like public ships away, or boats?
Yes, the Navy does that periodically. All the time we're operating, you know, we watch out for civilian traffic, and we have measures in place to make sure that civilian craft are not going to be in the area. There's falling debris coming from the capsule, stuff like that NASA has tools to monitor, so we'll make sure public safety and wildlife safety is all at the forefront of our minds.
Yeah, what have they warned you? Like that you said there could be falling debris from what though? Because I thought it would just be the capsule. Like what?
Well, as the parachutes deploy from the capsule, there's metal pieces that will come out. There's no harm. They have monitoring tools to watch that stuff as it comes down, to keep the helicopters and all the boats and everything out of the way. So perfectly safe.
How many times, like what has gone into the practice? How many people are technically involved? Is it a smaller crew than we're even thinking, or is it like a ton of you?
So there's, you know, a couple hundred sailors on Martha, and then there's about 150 folks from NASA that are riding the ship out there to support the recovery. Like I said, there's helicopter squadrons, mobile dive teams from EOD, Explosive Ordnance Disposal, a lot of medical capability to make sure the astronauts are in good health when they come back. So lots of joint assets from all over different services as well.
And is there, I mean, a lot of that's probably just on standby for like hopefully we don't need like the dive team, or we don't need certain elements, right? I mean, that's just for like a worst case scenario, or
right.
They all have a okay?
Yeah, no, a lot of the medical is for contingencies. Hopefully they don't need to be put into practice. NASA has their own surgeons as well. But yeah, all the teams I spoke about is really for the capsule recovery and making sure we can get the capsule safely back in the well deck.
I personally think you guys are incredibly brave. Like, what do you think of someone going to space and going farther than any other human? I mean, they're pretty darn brave too.
I don't know how they do it, honestly. I don't know that I could do it. It's a pretty small capsule. I've been inside the training one that we use, and it's tight. And as you've seen on TV, probably the video feeds and stuff like that, it's a small space. Not for me, but yeah, proud of the guys and women that have done it. Two of them are Navy fighter pilots, so super exciting and happy for them to get back to Earth safely.
Totally.
Yeah.
And how, so 507, what else? Tell me, you've been great. I've got pretty much everything I need, but what else can you share, or what's interesting, or what's come up, or what would you want people to know, the time?
Yes, Splashdown right now is scheduled for Friday night at a little after 5 p.m. Like I said, later today, we're NASA and the team out there. Right now, they're about a couple hundred miles off the coast, kind of monitoring weather. So later today, they'll determine the exact splashdown location. Hopefully, it's closer to the coast. I still don't think people are going to be able to see it from here. But yeah, we'll get more fidelity on the details of the splashdown on Friday.
Have you heard anything like about how many miles per hour are they coming in hot? Like just,
oh yeah,
like slam.
Yeah. So I don't know the exact speeds, but they come in really fast, and they have parachutes that deploy. So by the time the actual capsule splashes down in the water, they're only going about 20 miles an hour. Okay. So perfectly safe when they hit the water.
Just remarkable. Again, like we were saying off camera, like the true rocket science.
Yeah.
goes into it for them to even have a precise location for landing. And why is it San Diego? Why don't they return to the coast of Florida?
We have all the assets here in San Diego that's better suited, and the weather actually is better on this coast than it is off the coast of Florida.
And we might get rain Saturdays, I'm sure. But we'll be fine.
Yeah, like I said, the team out there underway is monitoring the weather, and they'll pick the best location for splashdown.
Anything part of your preps, or 12 years? I'm kind of see, I don't think we've known about it that long.
Yeah, so the underway recovery tests have been preparing since like 2013, 14 timeframe. So actually at a previous command, I was involved in one of the URTs, I think it was 5, where they tested some of the line load attenuating mechanisms to bring the capsule back into the well deck. So I've been actually part of this for about a decade now, so it's super exciting to see it come to fruition. Yes.
Wow. All right, you've been great. I really do appreciate your time. And
they have chairs when they come off the helicopter to wheel them into medical, but if they're capable, they will walk themselves. It just depends on their physical condition.
Right, you just don't know how your body will kind of react to that.
10 days in space is a long time. So.
And I understand they're already returning.
Yes, they're on their way back from the moon today, so
cool.
It's happening.
Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with
Sure.
us. It's impressive, and again, a positive one.
What a fantastic interview. Really back home to their homes after quite the exciting last 10 days. And Tim Buckley, Meredith Garofalo, we're here for you to bring you through this. It's going to take a little bit of time as we get the astronauts out of Orion. But, I'm still watching this in awe that, what just happened. I mean, we watched it come down, separate from the service module from the solar arrays and the main engine. Then we had it kind of get put on course, almost like in a boat, putting it on course for that next drop, coming through the atmosphere, going silent, and then coming back, and we were all just sitting in awe watching the parachutes come out one by one, and to eventually that splash down there in the Pacific Ocean just off the San Diego coastline.
Yeah, it's been pretty amazing to watch, and they're still inside. They're still gonna take a little while to get recovered fully. To me, this is kind of like when you take a flight and you land and you're still waiting on a jetway. You can't get off the plane yet. I think they must have a lot of anticipation at this point.
That's the absolute worst.
A lot of relief. A lot, it is, right? And people are going to stand up on the plane anyway. But this
I
is
know,
the
then they block the aisles.
They made it through. It is the worst, but we're all relieved and we're excited to see them, and hopefully we'll get to see them within the next hour or so. But Meredith, you've been studying this for years, gosh, and we've just completed Artemis II. Artemis II is complete. We got a question from a viewer. They want to know more about what is Artemis III going to look like, because this is a series of launches, right? A series of missions, 1, 2, 3, and ultimately 4. What is planned for the Artemis III launch, and how does it differ from this one that folks might not realize?
Well, I think everyone thinks of, okay, we circled the moon, right? We did it, we got the views, and now it's going to be getting our astronauts back in, sending them back up, and getting them to land. Okay, we're going to put the brakes on that. Just like any good plan or anything in life, it definitely is going to take seeing what we learned from this mission, from the astronauts, from the spacecraft, from the entire journey over the last 10 days. So NASA is now targeting for the mid-2027, so middle of next year, for our Artemis III mission. So this one's going to be focusing more on testing the lunar landing systems in low Earth orbit instead of getting right back out on the moon. So now that we've successfully completed this Artemis II flight, and we know that we can rely on commercial landers like SpaceX's Starship and Blue Origin's Blue Moon, now what they're going to be doing is testing when it comes to the entire process, when we get those docking operations between the Orion capsule, the human land schedule. That's going to push the moon landing out a little bit more, but it's still going to be within this decade. So those of you who are wondering, okay, well, when are we going to get through that? It will be likely, if everything goes on track, by the end of this mission. Right now, Artemis IV is anticipated for 2028. So Artemis III is going to be more about taking that next step and testing everything in low Earth orbit. 2020 2028 is when we're going to be looking at getting our astronauts back, landing on the moon. And so, this is something that, is going to take some time. But as we heard from NASA Administrator Jarek Isaacson, they want to ensure the safety of the crew. That is the number one priority, is these men and women are going out there. They're going farther than we've ever went before. But we need to make sure that we are taking care of them, just like they are bringing back a lot of things for us and a lot of lessons learned. And, I interviewed, and we're going to have an interview a little bit later on tonight with NASA Johnson's director that's based in Houston, Vanessa Weich, and she told me that some of the stuff that, I like to say stuff because I just think it's fun and a little less formal, but we're going to learn so much from these astronauts. They actually are going to be taking samples from their cells. So they tested their cells before. I know this sounds like sci-fi, but it's actually something that really happened. They actually tested them before. They tested them throughout the journey, and then they're going to test them again to see how their cells change, being in deep orbit and out in deep space. So really, really exciting thing. And, I know we're talking a lot here, but we are waiting anxiously, Tim, for that hatch to open and for those astronauts to get out on the dinghy. Just another moment. We are so excited to just sit here and ponder. But we want to thank everyone for their questions. By the way, I wish we had time to answer all of them, but we're trying to get to as many as we can and give you as much information as we can. But I think, Tim, we also want to take in these moments and share them with everybody, right?
For sure. And you're all watching live with us. And we're trying to digest what we're seeing here, but it looks like, they've just had close contact with the capsule. It's hard for me to tell if they've actually made contact with the crew just yet, but these are great live pictures here, and you can see the conditions are perfect. The waves aren't choppy. It's exactly what they wanted. It's that classic San Diego weather that they pride themselves on that side. You even heard the interview with the Navy captain. He said, well, the weather's better on this side of the country. Usually he's right. It's a good butt today for sure, because it's raining in Florida, but they're doing well, and it looks out of a movie. And for us, we haven't seen it in a long time. And for the kids and the younger generation, I'm glad that they're able to see this. But they're right up against the capsule now, making contact with the crew, hopefully.
Tim, what would be going through your mind? I mean, I'm sitting here, you're sitting here, everybody is sitting and watching this, again, with anticipation of what it's going to be like when they get out. I don't know, if it was me, I probably would fall in the ocean, just because I'd be like, I'm back on Earth and there's gravity, and I have been floating around for 10 days, and especially for Christina, having longer hair's floating around, all of a sudden, bloop, it's right back in my face again. I mean, I don't know. That sounds like a nice hairdryer, though, for outer space for people with long hair. Just saying, my personal opinion.
I can't even imagine. I certainly can't relate to the long hair at all on my side of things, but I hear you. And we'll hear from her later, too. But to me, it's interesting, think of how exhausted they must be. They've been in such a tight confine. And I heard someone describing it earlier, that whole process of decelerating from the 20,000 miles per hour to basically 19 miles per hour toward the end to zero. It's basically like you're in a car crash or something. I mean, there's a great bodily impact to that. And we had some viewer questions here about what are they going to be feeling as side effects, or what is the impact here to your body? What do they have to do to kind of rehabilitate afterwards? I think in the near term, what they're going to do is give some basic health assessments. Make sure they're feeling okay. Make sure that all their vitals are good. Get them hydrated. It's the same thing you do when you get done with a football game. Anything, you got to hydrate. So same thing for them. They've got to get fully fluided up. And then they're going to kind of go through some physical training in the next couple of days, because really you actually find your muscles getting weaker in space. And even if you're only up there for 10 days, there is going to be that toll on their body. But ultimately, they're going to be just fine. I'm sure right now there's probably some, I ever think of, you ever go on a cruise ship or something like that, you have these sea legs when you get back on land. What must it be like when you come back from space? I mean, this is going to be just a whole reassessment, and your body relearns a little bit how to deal with different levels of balance. And I've certainly never experienced zero gravity, but I'm sure your body adapts to that in some such way that you kind of have to get your bearings again once you touch steady land, and we'll be watching them do that for the first time coming up shortly. But it's going to be cool. I just want to see their faces, and I want to hear from them as well. But this is good enough for now. This is good enough for now.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And so there's a question coming in: who opens the door first? Who are they going to see? And it's going to be United States Disposal Expeditionary Support, that's a lot, unit number 1. Basically, we have United States Navy divers. Thank them for their service, by the way, and they are going to be the ones who are opening the Artemis II Orion capsule. Specifically, it's actually a dive medical team. This is some fun information. It was led by the Hospital Corpsman First Class Steve Capitola. He's going to assess the capsule, get that catch open, and assist the crew. So I'm getting all this information from the United States Space Command's website because, we want to get you those facts as they come out too. But, gosh, you can see there, it looks like they are working, I believe, to get that open. And just to let you know, most of us here, we are relying on our producers to tell us, because as we are bringing this to you live on the air, we don't have that direct feed in our ear. But what's happening right now is they are setting up the front porch and stabilization collar. So basically they're getting everything ready, so when the astronauts come out, I was joking earlier about falling in, but I am sure when their feet are hitting the ground, you have to think about the stress that was put on their bodies from being in space and being just floating and not having that gravity be impactful. So when that door opens, they need to make sure they have the team ready there. If somebody does fall, if somebody is struggling, that they can help them. But you look at some of the past splashdowns, and they kind of walk out. They're excited, but like you were saying, Tim, they were disoriented. They're probably trying to recover, trying to process everything. You have the physical tolls, but let's also talk about the mental health. They just went through something that was literally life. Let's see, that looks like it has not opened yet. I know we're still waiting, I believe. We're trying to get the information about what's happening right now.
That might be the hatch.
That might be the hatch. It looks like they might have gotten the hatch open. We're getting some communications from our producers. Yeah, it does. And yeah, for those of you who are watching, our apologies. We have to wait to get the actual feed because we can't hear it through our ears as we're on the air with you right now. But yeah, that does look like the hatch. It looks like they are going in, and the astronauts for the first time are seeing humans outside, the 4 of themselves in there. So, oh my gosh. What a special moment right now you are getting to see and join with us right here. The side hatch is now officially open. Yes, it is officially open. It looks like they are bringing out probably something to wrap up the astronauts in, I can imagine. Maybe sort of a life jacket, Tim. Maybe that's what they're bringing in there. Or it's just something to put on them to...
This is the moment here. The door's open. You can see the support boats are there. The initial raft is there. And I'm not sure how well this helicopter can zoom in, but we're going to be watching it. We'll just stay here with this until they get out, I think. But gosh, they're finally able to see, as our guest was telling us earlier, that Earth shine. We're calling it Earth shine now, or Earth light, I suppose.
Yes, Dr. Cyan Proctor from Inspiration 4. Fantastic view for us there earlier that she shared with us of that Earth light. Wow, Tim. This is really cool to witness this. And I can tell you personally, I have never been on the air in my 20-year career and had a moment like this that is just so special and so exciting to watch it unfold. There's nothing that was written to us in press releases or on web articles that I think can really convey the feelings that we're having right now, watching these astronauts step outside the Orion capsule for the first time in 10 days.
Yeah, it's pretty special. And, as the U.S. and NASA, we've done it before. It's just been a long time, and it's not done with regularity anymore. So this really is, we hope, a rebirth and a return to space with regularity, the way that it was. There's a whole generation of kids that don't grow up or didn't grow up seeing the space shuttle getting launched and going up on missions and coming home from missions, and even just seeing people in NASA uniforms in frequency. That's not something that's really been happening in recent memory. So this is an introduction or kind of a reunion with the United States and Americans with NASA and with the space program, and hopefully with space fascination. It's off to a good start. This could have gone so many different ways. I think we're seeing a lot of people fall in love with this mission, and not just from the grandeur of the pictures and how brilliant that was, and seeing things we've not seen before, like the eclipse of the moon and the sun behind it. That was fascinating, and the new Earthrise and Earthsat photos. But even just seeing stuff like this and proving we can do hard things. Pretty cool.
Right.
So we're going to toss to the coverage feed here and see if they're able to give us any audio to go along with this. I believe it's just spectacular.
For the erection of that inflatable raft, the front porch, alongside of the vehicle, that will enable the crew to be extracted one by one onto the raft, have a moment or two to get their land legs back before they're hoisted into two hovering Navy helicopters, 2 crew members for each helicopter. All of Integrity's systems operated flawlessly throughout the course of the approach to the Earth, the entry into the Earth's atmosphere, and all of the key milestones that followed in this high-speed return to Earth for Integrity, a mission that spanned more than 694,000 miles from the vehicle's launch from the Kennedy Space Center atop the Space Launch System back on April 1st. As we mentioned at the top of the broadcast, the last time that the Apollo program saw a splashdown in the Pacific was Apollo 17 back on December 19th, 1972. So for the first time in some 53 and a half years, we have reenacted that with the arrival of Integrity's astronauts as they flew around the moon in that historic lunar flyby that began with a trans-lunar injection burn that took them out of Earth orbit following 24 hours of a high Earth orbit trajectory. The high Earth orbit trajectory enabled flight controllers here to have a full 24 hours to evaluate the systems on Integrity and the condition of the crew before they would commit to flying to the moon.
Tim Buckley back with you now as we continue to cover listening to NASA's Rob Naveus. I hope I'm saying that correctly, but as far as I've understood, he's been announcing or commentating on these missions since way back in 1981. So that's quite something, and his voice certainly has a lot of authority and gives us some great education on this process, and you could have heard him throughout the day and really throughout a good chunk of the mission as well. We're getting questions from you at home throughout this broadcast, and you can continue to text them to us. The number is on the screen. Before we take a quick break, wanted to address this one. Folks wanted to know, what is the size of Artemis, or in this case, I think what they mean is the Orion spacecraft, which is what you see here floating in the Pacific Ocean right now. So it's best to kind of just do a size comparison, right? The size comparison between that capsule that you're seeing there, which these four fine folks lived in together for the over the last 10 days. They used the bathroom right there in this small space and everything else. They've done all the missions that they needed to do. It's roughly about the size of a small camper van or like two minivans put together. So it's really not all that big. If you think about going on a road trip with your family, that's a tight quarter, but you can stop at the Buc-ee's, you can stop at the rest stop or whatever and get out. These guys can't. So this is close quarters. It's roomier than prior iterations of this, and it's back in the 60s, as I understand. This one is bigger, but even still, it is small, but big enough to get the job done. And not only did it get them up there, it got them around the moon, and it got them back. And as we're seeing, they're getting recovered now as we continue to see. I don't believe that we've seen anybody's face yet. We saw the side hatch come open, but we're waiting on that reunion as well. I think we're going to take a quick break and then come back and just do more about this as we get to finally meet our fine astronauts coming back to planet Earth.
Yes, and when we do come back, we have a very special interview for you. We spoke with NASA Johnson's, which is located in Houston's director, Vanessa Weish, and the story she tells, the excitement from her personal experience for all those in Houston, this is one story you don't want to miss, so stay with us.
Welcome back, everybody. Tim Buckley here with you, with Meredith Garofalo. And I'll tell you, it's 1 hour now. 1 hour that we've had our astronauts back home. It's 9:07 Eastern, 6:07 Pacific. They're back, and we're still waiting on them.
They're home.
In the meantime, we have We have so many emotions, excitement, anticipation, relief. And I'm sure all of you at home are feeling the same way. Meredith, I'm excited to hear this interview that you did, though, because we're continuing to learn more about the space program, and this is an opportunity for all of us to kind of get invested in what NASA's been doing over these years. So why don't you tell us what we're about to hear?
Well, Vanessa Weish is the director for NASA's Johnson Space Center, and I have known Vanessa for a while now, for years, and when she stepped into that position, I know that this was something that was just eventually going to become a dream come true for her, and especially to be the one commanding the teams down in Houston. And so I asked her and actually spoke with her yesterday on Thursday about just kind of her whole experience with this, and I'm really excited to share with you what she had to say. Again, this was prior to the launch. The Artemis II mission has just been historic in so many different ways, and for some of us, it's been following for a long, long time. Vanessa Weish, who is the director of NASA's Johnson Space Center, is joining me. And Vanessa, what does Artemis II mean to you? What has been your favorite part of this journey so far?
Oh, wow. So Artemis II, what does it mean to me? It means that we as a civilization, as humanity, are exploring in deep space again. We have not done this since 1972 with the end of the Apollo mission. So it means that, we have been doing great work in low Earth orbit. We've been doing great science missions. We've been finding out a lot about humans in space, but now we're going to be exploring deeper and deeper into space. And, we're going to go to the moon, we're going to build a moon base, and then we're going to go to Mars. It just means that, it's opening up the universe to all of us. And so, yeah, I'm super excited about it.
Oh, I am as well. We've been following this together for so long now. Now, what are you most excited about after Splashdown when the astronauts get to come back home to Houston?
Oh my goodness. So first of all, this particular crew, they are amazing. We have the commander, Reed Wiseman. We have the pilot, Victor Glover. We have mission specialist, Christina Cook. They are all American NASA astronauts, and then we also have with us our Canadian astronaut, Jeremy Hansen. They have been training together. We assigned this crew about 3 years ago, and so they trained together. They have worked with all people from around the world for this mission to come together. And so for them to have been the first to be able to do this in over 50 years, when they land, and, first they'll be on the boat in San Diego, but eventually they'll get back to me here in Houston. And so on Saturday, I'll get to give them a big hug, congratulate them from all of us, from around the world. That is going to be just super special for me because, as you said, I've been working the mission, the architecture for a long time. But this particular crew, they've been training together. We assigned them 3 years ago, and now, they have accomplished so much. And so very proud, so very proud.
You're going to have the hug of millions, so we're all sending it your way to Houston. So a lot of people like to compare missions. You had the Apollo era, but now you have this brand new era. What are some of the similarities and differences that you think really stand out?
Yeah, so I think, for us, Apollo, we learned a lot. We stand on their shoulders, so grateful. And when we think back, at least when I think about what they accomplished with Apollo, I'm in awe. I'm in awe of what they were able to accomplish. But now think about the differences in technology, the computer technology we have AI, we have, so many different, just from a human perspective, the food, everything is just so much different. So next generation of what we had for Apollo. And so when I compare and contrast, just the bravery, right? The willingness to be the ones to get on the rocket, to be the ones that we send into outer space. But the design, we have the Orion spacecraft, which is a larger cabin. We have now the ability to have more people that will be on that spacecraft going into space. And then from just right now today, the way that we're able to launch the rockets and return them. It's just the capabilities are just so much greater. And then when we look forward to when we're landing, we're going to do that so differently. We will have, right now we're working with two companies, SpaceX and Blue Origin. They're building their landers. They have the use of different fuel technology that we'll be having that will allow us to take more mass into space. And so the landing and the landers are going to be bigger, larger, than we had with the Apollo mission. So we'll be able to carry more science instrumentation. And then when we're building out this moon base, it's going to be just phenomenal.
And as a scientist myself, I can completely appreciate that. But some people may question, why is a mission like this important, especially when it's like, well, why space? Why now? There's focuses that should be so many other places here on Earth.
Yeah. So, what our crew members have been able to do, we had Artemis I, which we flew the spacecraft without crew on it, and we had cameras on it. It was able to do some imaging. We have an orbiter that actually is called a lunar reconnaissance orbiter, and it circumvents the moon and gets information about it. But with our crew members on board, what they have been able to do with just their visual eyes and additional cameras and the learning about the moon itself, we're looking at going to the south pole of the moon. We believe there's water ice there. We'll have the ability for us to actually live there in that environment, grow a base and to do scientific experimentation there. But we also know that there are things we'll be able to transfer and help us back at home. And so, what we learned in Apollo, we miniaturize things, some of the things that technology has spun off into, your cell phones, the things that we're able to do now based on what we learned from Apollo, and just look forward to what we'll be able to do going to add changes to our economy going forward right here on Earth.
I love that. And with so many milestones already, what can we look forward to take from this mission to the future missions, especially as we work closer to putting our astronauts on the moon, Mars, and eventually beyond into deep space?
Yeah, so, we will be able to take what we've learned from this mission about the human aspects of environments that we're enclosed in. We actually on this mission have what we call the avatar. I don't know if you heard about it, but it's actually taken cells from each of these crew members, and we put their cells and we're studying them, the radiation impacts that they're going to be exposed to on this mission. And then we have ground cells that we left on the ground, and we'll be able to actually study at a cellular level, the difference between the radiation environment, the impacts of going into deep space versus what happened here on the ground. But that's just one way that we're able to take the information from this crew and transfer it going forward. From this particular mission, we're going to build to the next one. Right now, we're looking at, landing, but we're also saying, what testing do we need to do before we make that next giant leap? So on this mission, we did what we call rendezvous proxops. We learned how to manipulate the Orion so that when we come to the mission where we have to mate between the Orion and the landers, we've done some testing already to get us prepared for that particular operation that will come up in the future mission.
Gosh, when you hear all these things, this is real. This is our generation right now, the new space race that we are part of. And there are so many kids, young adults, college students that are just watching this right now. What do you hope they can take from this and put into their lives, just like so many did from the Apollo era?
Yes. Plain and simple, I just hope that they can take away, that they can see these astronauts, that they can see this spacecraft, that it went around to the far side of the moon, that we had eyes on something that we have never seen before, that they can aspire to do and be anything that they want to be. And, there's nothing that can stop you from doing anything that you want to do.
Oh, I absolutely love that. Vanessa, is there anything else that you want people that are watching to take from this mission or take from your message from Houston at NASA's Johnson Space Center?
Well, I want to thank the people of Ohio. I want you to know that you have been a major contributor to this mission, the Orion spacecraft. We have what we call the service module, which provides the propulsion for us to be able to do all of these maneuvers. That actually has been managed right there at the Glenn Research Center. And then the Orion spacecraft itself, a lot of testing was done up at the Armstrong test facility. And so I want everyone in Ohio to know that you played a major, major role in making this mission happen. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, we love Texas as well. At least I love my cowboy boots and some of that good Southern cooking. But Vanessa Weich, thank you so much, the director at NASA's Johnson Space Center. We are excited for this Artemis mission and for many more to come.
Awesome. Thank you. I hope to see you soon.
Me too. Such a great moment there. And it sounds like we have the medical officer that is now inside. I think Tim has a little bit more information on that. So that's the latest news we are getting to you as we are looking here at the Orion capsule, bobbing in the Pacific Ocean, bringing our 4 astronauts from Artemis II back home to Earth.
It is certainly bobbing. It's going up and down for sure. But yeah, that's good for us to know, because as we've been watching this, we're kind of, guessing along with you at home a little bit on exactly what they're doing. But right now they have the medical officer inside, and so they're going to be kind of just doing some initial checks to make sure they're good to go and kind of ready to exit, right? You got to be ready to get off before you actually do the getting off part. But they're also installing what they call a stabilization collar and a front porch. Kind of a nice term for it. It's basically, though, just an exit ramp or a way to get out of this thing. But that's kind of what you're seeing here, that orangish rubberized shield on the outside that wasn't there before. So they're installing that, and then the front porch will be coming in next, and we'll be getting them out. So that might be what we're seeing here right now, Meredith, as this next boat kind of approaches. That might be the front porch, and we might be finally getting close to exit time.
Oh my gosh. I mean, this is amazing. They have been in the water for more than 4 hours waiting to get those astronauts ready to go home. But it was 8:07, so we are at 9:21 p.m. Again, this is Eastern time. So if you think it's been more than an hour since they've splashed down, and they staged for 4 hours, just to give you an idea of how long this team out there has been waiting to welcome our astronauts back to Earth. It's just amazing the things that teamwork can do, and whether it's teamwork on the Orion capsule, teamwork behind the scenes by everybody in mission control. You heard it from Vanessa herself, the director of Johnson Space Center. Everybody came together to make this happen, and it's just something that just gives you goosebumps every time you think about it. We're getting a report now that the stabilization collar is looking good. Again, this is a process, just like it was a process to get the goes to launch. Now they have to get the checks done. Go for this, go for that. We have recovery personnel. Now they are starting to get onto it, and they have to further attach it to Orion, excuse me. I need a little more coffee this late at night. You know how that goes, Tim. But what they need to do is the stabilization collar needs to get further attached to Orion, and then they're going to use that to lift it out of the water. And so, again, a process we're going through, Tim, right now. We're seeing it. I know it takes a while, but it is for all a good cause. Just like doing checks for launch, just like doing checks and following them coming back into the atmosphere. This is the final step, or as they say in one of my favorite songs, the final countdown. I know you're singing it with me. Come on.
That's right. The final countdown. And not a moment too soon. You know, I think a lot of people at home, we're getting a couple comments and questions from them. They're saying, well, what's taken them so long? We did have a question or a comment that said, you know, back in 1969, it only took them 48 minutes. What's taking so much longer now? I don't know the answer to that, but let me just put a point on this. This is not an easy thing to do. Think about being in the middle of pick your ocean. You can be in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean. You can be in the middle of Lake Erie if you want to. If you're going to get from a bobbing craft and then have to get onto another bobbing craft, you might be nervous about that. What if you were just in space for 10 days? I mean, I usually get nervous anytime I rent a kayak and I've got to kind of dismount out onto shore. This is not an easy thing to do, right? And you know, the consequences here are big. You don't want to fall off and float in the Pacific Ocean when you still might not have all your faculties about you, your balance, all of these other things. So in any case, it's going well. They're making sure after all of this that it continues to go well. But we're here. I mean, this is it right now. They've really attached, it looks like, and as our producer's telling us, it looks like we should be seeing the astronauts soon. Everything is getting attached pretty well, and this is all teamwork. And you mentioned all the people helping. One of the themes I've noticed just listening to the tone of everyone's voice, whether it be the NASA administrator, whether it be the Navy, whether it be anyone who's helping in this, there's a sense of pride and accomplishment in their voice. And they're all proud and happy to help this mission. And it just seems like something that everyone's wanting to do together. You think about all the stuff that's really heavy in the world right now. This is kind of a moment of lightness and something that we can be prideful as a common unit, and I think this is not something that's seen all that much of nowadays. So we're all cheering them on, and there's a lot of people helping them to get where they need to be.
I'm squinting my eyes. I don't know about you. I'm like trying to see when we have the first astronaut. And I don't know if there's an order. I guess that would be a question I would love to know. Like, is there a certain order they come out? Is it alphabetical like we were in grade school, remember, in homeroom, and we had to sit by our last names? Or will our the commander come out first? I mean, so many questions, but I don't care who comes out first. I cannot wait to see an astronaut step out of that capsule, and we can cheer together with everybody. I mean, I know we said this all night, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I'm going to because it is historical. We are witnessing, and we are all part of history. And like you said, anyone watching the stream, we are watching this as a team. We are Team Artemis II right now.
Absolutely, and the four astronauts, they're going to be reuniting. These are the first people they're going to see are these crew from the Navy, and I'm squinting along here with you. Is it going to be Reed or Victor or Christina or Jeremy? I don't know.
Do you want to make a bet,
I'm broadcasting here in. Well, I'm in North Carolina, and so we have some pride with Christina here. We're kind of on Team Christina because she's a proud Wolfpack alum and an NC State person. So let's hope for her. But
you're talking Ohio State over here. Come on, if we're gonna have a little fun here with some competition. You're Team Christina for you, okay?
Boy. Here they go.
I'm gonna have to go Weissman.
That could be it.
Oh my gosh.
You're seeing how many people are needed to kind of assist here. This is definitely, we talk about the teamwork, but it looks like they're basically pulling through the capsule, through the doorway.
Oh my gosh. Well, for our producer, we should take a listen in. Let's take a listen in so we can hear it, and then we can find out together, because you and I could talk a while, Tim, but I want to hear them say who comes out first. And our producers, please let us know in chat who it is, and we'll see who's buying coffee across the country here.
This is Mission Control Houston. Behind me, a fairly raucous scene as hundreds of flight controllers have poured into the flight control room here. This is reminiscent of the scene after the final shuttle mission of STS-135, although that was the end of a program. This is only the beginning of a program with the textbook splashdown of Integrity and its 4 astronauts. We're standing by for the crew to be extracted from the spacecraft. Entry Flight Director Rick Henfling invited all of these flight controllers who have contributed to this mission to enter the flight control room to have an opportunity to receive well wishes and to share the mutual glow that exists in the wake of a textbook mission for Integrity. On the front screen here in Mission Control, a sign that says, "Welcome home, Integrity, taking humanity back to the moon, going further, and returning safely to Earth." So all of that jubilation, part of the post-splashdown activities, even as we await the crew being extracted from the vehicle to be hoisted onto Navy helicopters for the trip back to the USS John P. Murtha.
Well, just to give you an idea of what you are seeing, they are awaiting the first of the 4 Artemis II astronauts to come out of the Orion capsule, and I would say get back on dry land. That's going to take a little bit of time. They're going to be getting onto a boat that will bring them back to the mainland, but you can see the excitement here. Look at all of those smiles here. And you know what I love that I'm seeing too, which we've heard, this is the Artemis Flight Control Room. Unlike the Apollo mission, look at the diversity. I mean, you have a healthy balance of men, of women, of all different generations, all different backgrounds. It's a beautiful sight. And everybody, we're all waiting for the same thing, Tim.
Yeah. Yeah, it's exciting. And you can see just the body language. I was looking at the body language about an hour and a half ago, and there were some people with their hands right up against their face, and they were anxiously awaiting the reconnection of the blackout period. Now they're relaxed, they're enjoying each other, and this is years in the making, and a lot of their professional life has been dedicated to getting this off the ground and now back on the ground, if you want to say it that way. But this is a job well done. It's not the job completed because this is one mission, part of a series. The ultimate goal is to get back on the moon, but this is a big part of that. And as we're hearing, this is all gone exactly according to plan. We're hearing a quote from them, one of the most precise splashdowns on record in history. And so for all the
look at the divers
energy, it worked. It all worked. That's a scene, isn't it?
There's divers in the water. I know. I mean, the crew's coming out now. The crew is coming out now. Okay, everybody watching with
let's
us.
Listen in.
Deep breath.
Jubilation here in the flight control room. The first crew member is out of Integrity. We are expecting the other crew members momentarily to be extracted. We now have 2 crew members out. 2 crew members out, 2 to go. We're about 1 hour from sunset out in the Pacific. Everything continues to go well. Integrity's systems function perfectly during its entry back to Earth. And Reed Wiseman, the commander who will be last out of the vehicle, reported that all the crew members were feeling very well. Crew member number 3 now out. And now standing by for the commander, Reed Wiseman, who will be last out of his ship. Bobbing in the Pacific under almost ideal conditions, Integrity spanned 694,000 miles during its journey from launch to splashdown. And we now have Reed Wiseman out of the vehicle, all 4 crew members now out of Integrity. Once again, all 4 crew members now on the front porch, and the procedure to begin hoisting them up to these 2 Navy helicopters hovering overhead will begin shortly.
Oh my gosh, everybody watching with us, we are seeing them back, and I mean, again, I don't get a lot of speechless moments, Tim. I mean, you don't know me well like my colleagues here at WVNS TV, but all I can do is cheer and hoot and holler, and I am sure there are so many people cheering along with us, millions and millions of Americans right now, and probably globally around the world, probably some Canadians as well. I mean, I bet everybody is like, we did it, you know?
It is a moment of celebration. Yeah, I think you heard the clapping from the control room there, intermittently we were kind of listening in, and, the cheers and the applause and the jubilation. I mean, typically NASA folks are very professional and, very restrained and workmanlike and businesslike, which is great. But now they don't need to be because all the hard part is over. They're on this raft safely, the front door as they call it, and you can see them clearly because they're in the bright orange suits. So as you're looking at this, on the left-hand side, very distinguishable between the Navy crew. Those are your 4 crew members, and we were speculating who was going to come out first. I still don't know, but we know that the captain, Reed, came out last. He was the last one.
Okay. So I came in dead last. So I guess that means somehow I need to get coffee or something to you down in North Carolina. At least we're on the same time zone because, I don't know. Hey, save the best for last. Maybe that's why I put that out there. Just saying. Or maybe I'm just trying to cover my booty right now. But I want to know who was first. Can we Google that or something? I mean, that's the day and age we live in. Back in the Apollo mission, you're going to have Google. I mean, I remember in high school I didn't even have Google. I'd ask Jeeves. I don't know if you remember that.
My gosh, yeah, for sure. Back in the days, we can go to Alta Vista or something. Someone was asking, what happens
now
to
you're
the
throwing
capsule?
Good question.
So they're going to recover the capsule. I remember them saying that it's not just going to be allowed to sink or anything like that. They're going to recover it. I don't actually know the answer to what they do with it necessarily. I don't believe that it's going to be reused, but it'll certainly be recycled, I'm sure. But as we think about that, we're still looking live at everything stabilizing. It's always beautiful to see the twilight too. You're kind of seeing that setting sun. They mentioned on the feed they're about an hour from sunset, so they've got daylight, but they don't have a ton of daylight. So from here, they're going to go on those Navy helicopters and get themselves back onto the Navy vessel.
And I was getting some more questions coming in as well, since we are, going over a few more questions. And I had a really good one come in about, what's going to happen next? What are we taking from Artemis II's mission to go into Artemis III, to go into Artemis IV? So I do want to answer that question right now. So I was checking in with NASA just to get all the details. So what happens is, now that we've had a successful mission, its primary goal was to obviously test a crewed flight in space. But now there's additional priorities that are going to be for moving forward. They were able to demonstrate that the systems worked, the teams could sustain the flight crew in the environment, and then come back to Earth. Now we also learned a lot more about the systems and operations that we can take into our next capsule and our future capsules to go to not just the moon, but to Mars and to deep space as well. We also have flight hardware and data that is going to be studied now. This is going to be textbook stuff for the future. And then we also learned, we didn't have any major emergency operations that had to happen, but I'm sure they're going to be answering a lot of the questions. And I think the big thing that we're going to take from this is we're going to take everything that might have went wrong that we didn't see, because I'm sure there's a lot of things that we don't know about. And all of that is going to go into a playbook. So all you sports fans out there, anyone knows me, I'm a Browns fan, but we're not going to get into that because that's a sad story there. But actually, I love the Browns. But to be honest, we're going to have a playbook that's going to be moving forward and help us win at the space race. It's going to help NASA win moving forward. And if some play didn't work, then we're going to try something else, and we're going to experiment on something else and get all ready for 2027 for the Artemis III mission. We have so much that we're learning from the astronauts, that we're learning from the spacecraft, that we're learning from all the data that was taken. And remember, there was pictures taken that we've never seen before, and I was doing some research on that. Do you know that some of those pictures were taken by iPhones and a GoPro? In addition to Nikon cameras and high resolution and high speed cameras. There was, so many cameras that were on board there, and just to think what we're seeing, you had still imagery, and now we're getting pictures, and we have descriptions of the moon and first eyewitness accounts. We had those back during the Apollo era, but now we are just we were closer. I'm baffled myself at everything cool. Look at these pictures here right now. And I do want to go into this if I may, because you know me, I wanted to make sure to do some research on the cameras. So there were 32 cameras that NASA says they had on board, both inside and outside. So you had your smartphone style cameras. And, you know, I think I saw it as an iPhone 17. I don't even have that. Please give me one, because look at these images, absolutely incredible. Then you had the professional DSLR or mirrorless camera by Nikon. So this is for high quality stills. They could change out the lenses, get the zoom, the lunar detail on both low light and high ISO performance. All my camera friends out there, you know what I'm talking about. And then we also had broadcast and cinema cameras. So those were fixed inside the Orion. So we had the continuous high definition live video. We could get the crew's reactions, the window views, everything. And then we also had the external cameras. So these, just like we take GoPro style cameras if we're going to be mountain biking or hiking or even whitewater rafting or other wild fun things like that, they had GoPro cameras that were hardened for space so they could monitor the spacecraft and the moon frames that we see, the flybys, the dynamics. Just so incredible. Navigation and tracking cameras on board. We had high-speed cameras. I mean, it's just incredible. And so there is so much that we're going to take in so many different places for this mission. But also, I still want to go back to the teamwork thing here, Tim, because we accomplished so much, and in a time that we really needed to come together as a nation and celebrate our astronauts and celebrate the success of NASA's Artemis program. We did it. And we did it together because we all believed in each other and we supported each other. And I think that is a lesson for moving forward. We need to remember that support is everything, and that if we believe in each other, we can believe in a society that's going to succeed.
Yeah, you said it, and I completely agree that this is something that's needed. It's something to be proud of. It's a major accomplishment. And, the naysayers have said, well, we did this all before, and it happened back in the 60s. Well, it's good to teach ourselves how to do it again, because it hasn't happened in so long. And the goals, as you mentioned, are bigger than that going forward. I mean, not only will we go back on the moon, but there's aspiration to man a crew to Mars. I mean, gosh, doesn't that sound hard? That's the whole point of NASA. The whole point about NASA in the first place was to do something that sounds impossible. And whether or not we've done this before, it's still, to me, if we were to try it again tomorrow, it still sounds impossible because it's so hard to do and it's so far away. We're still watching these amazing images. Our producer's telling us, gosh, we really got to listen to this. So let's take their feed here.
All right, let's listen.
A little bit closer.
Stadiums around the major leagues. How captivating was this experience for the American people, for the world, in fact, as we return to the moon?
I have not been able to watch a lot of the coverage as we've progressed through the mission. I will tell you, just from my witness in Florida before launch, and then seeing the people's faces here, and then reading where I can about how things are going. I think this has been a gift to the world from NASA. NASA has given the world a gift, proving to folks all over the place, especially young people, and that to me is what this is really about. Young people, when they see what we can do when we work together, when we have teams that collaborate, that it doesn't matter how hard the problems are, we can solve them. I'm hopeful that Artemis II, as folks witness what we were able to do with this incredible crew, this incredible team that we've birthed into the world, scientists and engineers and artists that have been inspired by this. And even if they don't come work in the program, which separately they should come work in the program because Lord knows we need the help, but even if they don't want to come work in the program, hopefully they grow up to recognize they can do amazing things when they work together and contribute to society and be good citizens and really change the way, the challenges that are coming in the world are overcomable if we work together like this.
And one final question. Flying to the moon, we did it. We've done it again this past week and a half or so. But the engineering that went behind the design of this mission and the precision, the pinpoint precision of this vehicle entering that entry corridor, it's almost mind-boggling.
Yeah, it is incredible when you think about the energies involved and the uncertainties involved. That when we inserted the vehicle into orbit, it was 99.9 2% down the middle when we dropped the vehicle right on top of the fleet here. Our guys knew exactly where to go, but the guidance was perfect. And it's interesting. I've got this question a lot over the last few weeks about, we did this before 53 years ago, and that. It is a reasonable thing to contemplate, like what's gone on since then. And what I'd tell you is, when we did Apollo, which again, the more we learn about what they did, the more magical it seems what they were able to accomplish given the technology and the learnings that they had. But when we did Apollo, the architects of Apollo, Gilbert, Seaman, von Braun, Mueller, what they really, really wanted to do, as they were contemplating what it meant to expand our range of action to the lunar surface, what they wanted to do was learn how to live and work in space for a long time. They wanted to do that first before they were confident they could expand their range of action to the moon. Now, of course, the politics of the time and the mission at the time was different, and so they had to go straight to the moon and bring people home. And then after that, the program kind of lost its momentum. But after that, NASA kept moving along those paths, right? So we recognized during Apollo that reusability was going to be important. We spent a lot of money on those machines, and we spent a lot of money on these machines here, but we recognized that reusability was important, which is why we built a winged space plane called Space Shuttle, and then we used that reusable machine to build a space station. And we learned for 25 years how to live and work in space, and have been able to develop technologies that can enable exploration. So really, what I think is now, 53 years later, we're at the point where the architects of Apollo would have been pleased that we're now ready to actually go back to the moon and go back to stay, because we've learned all the things we needed to learn.
There's a lot of people pleased here tonight, and we really thank you for joining us. Amit Kshatriya, NASA's Associate Administrator, as we begin to hoist the crew onto the helicopters to head back to the recovery ship. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rob.
Congratulations, Amit.
We have to hop back in here. We have to hop back in here and talk about this, because I'm sure Tim's jaw is dropped right now. He's in North Carolina. I'm in Ohio, and how cool was this? I'm going to geek out right now. I mean, lifting him up, I feel like I'm watching an action movie, and I'm just getting all this energy from this. I don't know how people on the East Coast are going to go to bed right now watching what's happening.
I was snapping photos with my cell phone here as we were, just watching them do it. Just kind of, and honestly, I was nervous when the helicopter got close. It didn't occur to me, Meredith, just how much of course, a water spray it's going to create. You're seeing this now with the next one right here. That really has to be secure and be able to withstand all that. And then they've got to be evacuated one by one. This is something else for anybody, but let alone if you've just been in space for 10 days.
Oh my gosh. I mean, seriously, I wish they had like the mics on inside, like, when you're watching a show and they mic, like, remember the show The Office, and they had everybody mic'd and they would ask them questions behind the scenes. I mean, I would just love to hear what's going through their minds. And I know we are going to hear, but I feel like when you're in the moment, your reaction's going to be completely different versus when you're doing a taped interview afterwards. And, I'm sure the stories the United States Navy officers are going to have with how they reacted. But, I heard earlier that they were saying the first meal they want to get is crustless sandwiches. I don't know why I thought about food. Maybe because I'm hungry, you're hungry, but that's, I think they had so much crust on their sandwiches, I guess, in space. And they had a nice spread of a menu. If you had a chance to Google the space menu, I think they had mac and cheese in space. I mean,
I heard shrimp
I'd be
cocktail.
hungry too. Sold. I'll go to space for that.
They got to be hungry. I don't know if I'm not going to yuck their yum here, but I'm not sure if Uncrustables are my first meal back on Earth. I might try and go get some tacos in San Diego or something like that. I'm not sure, but they're going to be happy regardless.
Yeah.
And good for them. Good for them.
For sure, and they have nice weather. I mean, we could have splashed down in Florida, but you know what? There's nothing wrong with a West Coast pickup per se, but we're getting some reports now that the first helicopter is now coming back to pick up the third astronaut. So we have 2 astronauts that are already on their way to get closer and closer to the homeland, to get back on the actual ground and really feel gravity, I'm sure. But, I mean, what a process this has been, Tim. I mean, again, I think the main thing we should all take for this is success, obviously, but just the showcase of teamwork and coming together. I mean, some of these people have never met in their lives, but everybody is coming together and help. I mean, you see that when we have wildfires. You see that when we have natural disasters. And now, this is something that's positive. It's a big step forward for mankind and for womankind and for all kind. I'm just going to put it out there because it sounds really cool. But we are really coming together as a nation in all these different branches and all these different backgrounds. And we're celebrating what we were able to accomplish that I think for both of us, you know, we think about when we were in grade school and, you know, we were seeing things then for the first time, but now being grown adults, I can only imagine what the kids are going to talk about in school on Monday and rewatching the highlights all weekend long. I mean, what an incredible experience. I think there's going to be a lot more NASA t-shirts out there this next week.
Yes. I think so too, and not in a retro way either. A lot of people wear them as almost a retro throwback. NASA's current again. This is definitely a revival of the space program, and they're back. Not that they ever went anywhere, but they're back on the headlines on the front page. So here comes the last helicopter to pick up the last crew member. We've got 3. Woo-hoo! Here's the last one, and it looks like we're hearing that Reed Wiseman, the captain, is going to be the last one airlifted, and that's the last piece of the puzzle here, is to get them all back safely. He's the guy, right? Gosh, and this is just so cool to see them all reunited and back on planet Earth. And I do have a second screen here. I've just been watching the feed on my own. The NASA official X feed here. They have a live broadcast. I just felt like mentioning this. It has 2.7 million viewers right now. So there's a lot of interest in this mission, even after the landing.
Well, to all of the viewers that are watching us here, by the way, we want to thank you for staying with us, for joining our national coverage, and for the fact that you chose to share this experience with us. I mean, it's been such a fun night and then stressful. I mean, thankfully I had my nails done, otherwise I would have probably been biting them when they were coming back in through the re-entry period. But, I mean, we all got to share this together, and now this is it. We are seeing all the astronauts literally going back up in the air again, which I'm sure for some of them it's like, okay, but now they're getting to come back and put their feet on solid ground. And I think I've seen this before with astronauts where they bend down and they kiss the ground. Oh my gosh. I mean, this is incredible.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm happy to share this with you too.
It's been fun. This is fantastic. And, you know, it's teamwork. You know, we have a network of sister stations across the company, and we got so many cool meteorologists and resources and producers and directors and all these other folks coming together to do this stream remotely, even so, from different states. We're not NASA, but it's pretty cool, too. And
hey, you know what? You said it.
Impressive.
Behind the scenes. I want to give a shout out to all the people you have not seen here on air tonight, to our producers, to our directors, to the managers who helped make this happen, to the photographers that went out and helped shoot some of those stories that you saw, the reporters, all the people that you didn't get to meet tonight or talk to. We want to give kudos to them because, again, we're all in this together, and we're gonna watch now as they're about to land and come in. Oh my God, the sunset tonight. I mean, California dreaming for more reasons than one tonight, Tim.
Just look at the technology the helicopter is able to land and maneuver like that. I mean, it's very impressive. There's the first one. We've got the next one coming up next. Pretty amazing. And then off they go back to San Diego.
Oh my gosh. I mean, this is so cool. I know I'm talking like anchorish terms, but at this point, I'm reacting, Tim's reacting, we're all reacting, just, you know, seeing this for the first time. So it sounds like Victor Glover and Christina Cook are now on board. And so two are down, 2 more to come down as well.
Yep. So we're going to have Reed and Jeremy on the next helicopter, and they'll all be reunited, and they can have their Uncrustables, and just have a great time back on planet Earth. What an image! What a scene! Just before the sun goes down, their mission is concluding. The Navy mission to recover them is concluding, as we're about to conclude our coverage at 10 o'clock as well. The timing is all quite perfect. And clockwork, precision. This military precision has been impressive to see.
I know. And again, you have been with us since 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, and we were so glad that you could join us. And, you know, we've got about 2 minutes left as we are, I mean, it's almost the perfect timing, right, as we see them sail off with the sunset behind them. But I think for both of us, Tim, before we go, if you want to talk about kind of your experience, and I'll kind of go over it as well, and then we will say good night and good luck, as they say in the biz.
I just want to say I'm thankful that this has been a success, and I'm thankful it happened. It gives me a lot of excitement and pride to see this be accomplished, and I can't wait for the next one. And Meredith, I'm sure you'll be a big part of that next one as well as we look at Artemis III.
I know. It is hard to believe we have completed Artemis II. You know, we are looking at going from 2022 when we had Artemis I. Now we've completed 2. Now we look forward to next year. But I want to say personally, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing this moment with us. This was definitely a highlight of my career and definitely my life to be part of this with you, Tim, and with everybody else. And I just want to say one thing. With everything we accomplished as a team, as a nation, be kind. Go out this weekend and celebrate the success that we had as Americans with our neighbors, with our friends, with strangers. Let's smile. Let's start the conversation about what we were able to do together, because it all starts with us making a positive difference and coming together and really changing the world for the best. And so from us here in our home studios in North Carolina as well as in Columbus, thank you so much for being part of Artemis II Return to the Moon. We look forward to taking you further with us as more accomplished come in.
Very limited personnel here on the flight deck.
Maneuvering doctrine is in effect.
As that third helicopter touches down.
The ship is at flight quarters. Stand clear of waiter decks, aft of frame 095. Or no cover stop sign, thrown articles over the side, hold all trash and garbage on station. Flight quarters.
While just a few folks on the flight deck itself, there are plenty more on some upper decks. I see in some of our views a very packed crowd overhead. Announcements being made over the ship's loudspeaker system, reminding folks to stay clear of operational areas like the flight deck, so that teams can work quickly to get the crew off of the helicopters and into the medical bay. Splashdown today, 5:06 p.m. Pacific time. We are within 2 hours of that splashdown time, and already we have all 4 crew members on the flight deck of the USS John P. Murtha. Again, crew waiting before getting out for the helicopters to completely shut down. Safety, of course, very important to NASA and the U.S. military. So we'll wait just a couple of minutes here before we start seeing crew members walk off the helicopters one by one. All right, and now here we see pilot Victor Glover and mission specialist Christina Cook sitting on the edge of one of the helicopters, looking in great spirits. That familiar smile and laugh from Victor, I can see it from here. Christina, I'm sure, feeling the same way, just blocked a little bit by our camera here, but we'll see her here shortly. A photographer taking their pictures. Victor saluting folks on the flight deck. They look like they're in great spirits. Happy to be home, I'm sure. If you're sitting at home, I hope you too are wondering, what would you want to ask them if you got a chance to talk to them? Because that is what I'm thinking about. Getting the opportunity to talk to or ask questions of these 4 astronauts who just made history as the first crew to return to the moon since 1972. Oh, there we see Christina there, also smiling, finally peering out, waving at the cameras. Hello to you too, Christina, yes. Welcome back. Welcome, welcome home. A loudspeaker announcement on the ship saying, "Welcome home, Integrity." Victor in great spirits. I can't see who he's talking to, but I kind of think that he might be talking to his other 2 crew members. Shouting from across the flight deck, congratulations to one another. And so now we see some Navy personnel walking up to the helicopter. This is again the first helicopter carrying pilot Victor Glover and mission specialist Christina Cook. Both have taken off their helmets now. Some pictures, video to catalog this historic moment. A beautiful sunset just behind them here in the Pacific Ocean. Golden hour. These pictures will be beautiful. Now we see NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman. He is on the flight deck, as well as Flight Surgeon Rick Schuring walking over to Victor and Christina first. We saw the administrator walk over to the other helicopter, which is carrying Commander Reed Weissman and Mission Specialist Jeremy Hansen. We heard from Rick earlier in the broadcast. Again, he said he's going to be out there on the flight deck to do another initial assessment of the crew, ask them how they're feeling, anything bothering them. But again, from what I'm seeing, they look like they're in great spirits and feeling pretty good for folks who just traveled 695,000 miles from Florida to the moon and now here to the Pacific Ocean. We're now seeing NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman walking across the flight deck. He had been talking to Reed and Jeremy, now approaching Victor and Christina. A hug from Victor, a hug from Christina. What a moment that we're getting to experience together. I'm sure congratulatory words. You know, we got to speak to the administrator live on this broadcast as well, and he said the kid in him right now, giddy, absolutely giddy. at what we were able to accomplish today, returning them home safely and in good spirits after a 10-day mission around the moon. And here we go. We're seeing Jeremy walking, waving across the flight deck, now on his way to the medical bay. It's a short walk, less than a minute. Again, that's why the recovery team decided to use helicopters to get them on the flight deck for that short walk to medical bay. And now on the flight deck, we see the chief of the astronaut office, Scott Tingle. Rick Schuring switching places. He's going over to the other helicopter. Big hugs from Victor, Christina to Scott. Again, a gorgeous sunset setting the stage for this recovery tonight. All right, and now here we are, Christina, making her way, looking thankful, grateful, happy to be home. You can see she's looking up. Again, lots of people, just a few levels up off the flight deck, welcoming her home. Scott holding the door like a gentleman, but back on his way to the other crew still on the flight deck. So still on the flight deck, Victor Glover and Reed Weissman. It looks like Victor will be the next one headed to medical bay. More hugs, more hugs. He's a hugger. Victor looking good as he walks across the flight deck. NASA administrator applauding. Victor applauding for all the folks on the ship with him who played a role in their safe return today. And finally, just one Artemis II crew member left on the flight deck, Commander Reed Weissman. Applause from the group there on the flight deck, I'm sure, as well as on the level just above them, packed with people. Reed looking good as he takes his steps towards the medical bay. See our 4 Artemis II crew members back on the ship. Again, now they will head into medical bay, where they will be assessed by flight surgeons from both NASA as well as the Canadian Space Agency. A more in-depth assessment. When they get to medical bay, they will each have their own nurse. They will be helped out of their suits. And then again, we'll check to see that they're feeling good. Make sure it's not just adrenaline, but that they are feeling good from their long journey back from the moon. Beautiful shot of that sunset. illuminating our flight deck. All right, and now with our astronauts safely on board, I want to welcome on Artemis Recovery Director Lily Villarreal. Lily, I don't know how you must be feeling right now. Ecstatic?
I'm
relieved?
so ecstatic, relieved. Of course, we still have to bring the capsule into the well deck of the ship, but this is a major milestone to have the crew here on the ship and in Med Bay. You know, our team has been preparing and working really hard, and I'm just so proud of them all. Everything went very well, just as planned. Our teammates in Houston, the flight control team was just amazing. We were able to have great conversations and communications about everything. And I don't know what else to say. I'm just so ecstatic. It's such a wonderful feeling to get to this point. Again, we still have to get the capsule, but this is huge for all of us in landing recovery. And I couldn't do this without my team, and of course the full support of the U.S. military. There's going to be lots of high fives when we get the capsule back in, and I'm so happy that the crew's doing well, Ryan's doing well, and thank you for everybody watching.
Yeah, it was great to watch the crew come back to the ship with you. How were you feeling when you were seeing them looking so happy to be home and feeling really good?
The funny thing is that we had video of them from inside the Orion vehicle. They were like that from the beginning. When we opened the hatch, they were already out of their seats, having a good time, waiting for us to open the hatch. And they opened the hatch, and of course we did the first medical assessment. Everybody was doing very well, and they were just having such a great time with the medical team that was inside the capsule. I think they were all taking selfies with the phones that they have, probably talking about what they saw, and it was just smiles all around. They were having such a great time. And then we put them on the front porch when we were ready to put them on the front porch. And again, you could see they were just so ecstatic to be home and talking to everybody. So we were very happy to see all of that in the control room of the LFOC.
How remarkable is that? Again, if we think about their journey, the 695,000-mile journey around the moon and back, coming back at 30 times faster than the speed of sound. I mean, how remarkable is that they are in such good spirits?
I mean, this is an amazing crew. I think you guys have seen it for the past 10 days. They're wonderful people, and we're so happy that they brought us along on that ride. And I can't wait to see all the additional videos and pictures that they have that, we'll get a hold of now that they're back on the ground. And I can't wait to hear how, a little more than what we saw on the press briefings from the crew about what they saw. It's just fantastic. Some of my favorite people during this 10 days was the science team and how excited they were. And so this is exactly how we feel in the landing recovery team when the science team went, oh my goodness, when they heard all the discussions about the moon. This is exactly how we feel now in the landing recovery team. We're so ecstatic. Yeah. Again, we have to recover the capsule. I want to make sure we don't forget about our Orion.
Lily's all about business. She's thinking about what's next. But yeah, speaking of these 10 days, I mean, we have been along for the journey with them, live with them 24/7 for 10 days, and just really seeing the engagement that we've gotten from around the world. What do you hope people take away from this mission?
I think that's fantastic. So, my story was that I went to the Kennedy Space Center. I was born in Colombia. I was 10 years old when we moved to the United States, but when I was 7, my family took me to the visitor center, and that's when I learned about Apollo. And we went to the moon, and I learned about astronauts, and that story was what really fueled me to want to do STEM and want to be an astronaut. And I think that this Artemis program is going to do exactly what what girls, my age back then is 7, young people right now, girls and even like young men, obviously. But we want to empower people to know that you can do this, right? If you want to come and work for NASA, if I did it, they can do it. And Artemis program is just going to inspire everybody, and I'm so happy about that.
Yeah.
Like Apollo inspired me.
Thank you so much, Lily. Really appreciate you being here. As you said, still a lot of work to do. 5 to 6 more hours to recover Orion that's still out in the water. So I'll let you get back to it. But you had beautiful words to say again. We hope that this inspires people. We hope that you come and join us at NASA and accomplish great things with us in the future. Back to you, Rob.
Thank you, Megan, and safe sailing out there in the Pacific. Here in Mission Control, it is now all quiet. The team of flight controllers and all their support personnel have left the room to enjoy the aftermath of a textbook touchdown by Integrity that splashed down in the Pacific right on target to complete this historic flyby of the moon, the Artemis II mission. With that, we'll wrap up our coverage for the night and point you to a post-splashdown news conference in 15 minutes at 9:35 p.m. Central Time, 10:35 p.m. Eastern Time, where managers will discuss the return of the Integrity spacecraft and the completion of the Artemis II mission. With that, we'll wrap up our coverage for this evening and historic mission in the history books. This is Mission Control Houston. Main chute deploy. And we have 3 good main chutes.
Houston Integrity splashdown, sending post-landing command now.
Splashdown confirmed.
Copy splashdown, waiting on VLDR.
Splashdown confirmed at 7:07 p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time.
Artemis II mission is a test mission of the Orion space capsule.
Artemis II will be the first time we put humans on this rocket. We're going back to the moon because it's the next step in our journey to Mars.
We were always going to the moon.
Pushing ourselves to explore is just core to who we are. That's a part of being a human.
And liftoff. We shall return.
Continuing to test out every bit of Orion.
Coming back to Earth, 7 miles a second. When humanity sets big goals, we can bring together genius from around the world. You have the best people on planet Earth putting this vehicle together.
That's what's up. To innovate for the benefit of humanity and to inspire the world through discovery.
And here we go.
Main chute deploy. And we have 3 good main chutes.
Houston Integrity Splashdown, sending post-landing command now.
Splashdown confirmed.
Copy Splashdown, waiting on VLDR.
Splashdown confirmed at 7:07 p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time.
The Artemis II astronauts are back on Earth, landing in the Pacific Ocean at 7:07 p.m. Central Time this evening, after NASA's record-setting mission that took them around the moon and brought them home. Good evening and welcome to NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston. I'm Rachel Kraft with NASA Communications and several leaders to talk about the successful mission. They are Amit Kshatriya, Associate Administrator, Dr. Lori Glaze, Head of the Artemis Programs, Rick Henfling, Entry Flight Director, Howard Hugh, Orion Program Manager, and Sean Quinn, Exploration Ground Systems Program Manager. We'll hear briefly from them and then take questions from here in the room and on the phone. And with that, we'll start with Amit.
Good evening. Yesterday when we were in this room, we told you that the crew would put their lives behind our confidence, and they did. Yesterday in this room, we told you that today belongs to the engineers and technicians who touched this machine, and it does, and their work was good. Welders at Michoud shaped the heat shield and joined the rocket. Technicians at Kennedy packed parachutes, stacked the vehicle, stacked Orion, stacked SLS. Engineers in Bremen, Torino, and across the Alliance built the service module. Workers at Utah cast the boosters. Teams at Stennis fired the engines. Flight controllers in this building in Houston sat console for 10 days straight and sat silent in the night for 6 minutes while plasma took the signal. Navy divers pulled the crew out of the Pacific in an incredible way. The vehicle spoke for all of them. And at 25,000 feet per second, it said the work was good. As we say in our business, physics votes last. The families of the crew said this week there had been happiness and joy, but also anxiety, wanting to get their loved ones home safely. I was with them tonight. 4 families sat through those 6 minutes, and their courage is the same as the crew that just came home. Yesterday, Flight Director Jeff Radigan said we had less than a degree of an angle to hit after 250,000 miles to the moon. And their team hit it. That is not luck. That is 1,000 people doing their jobs. You all heard the crew's words during the mission. They were incredibly inspirational. They carried the torch from Apollo through station and around the far side of the moon. Their words belong to them. We'll get to hear from them as soon as they're back here. But tonight belongs to the team that built the machine that they wrote. We talk a lot about what gets in our way. The impediment to action is where we find the way to get to action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This program faced every obstacle an institution could face. The team met each one with work, and tonight is the proof. But that work needs to continue. The path to the lunar surface is open, but the work ahead is greater than the work behind us. It always will be. 53 years ago, humanity left the moon. This time we return to stay. Let us finish what they started. Let us focus on what was left undone. Let us not go to plant flags and leave, but to stay. With firmness in our purpose, with gratitude for the hands who built the machines, and with love for the ones that we carry with us. Welcome home, Integrity. I'll hand it over to Dr. Glaze.
Thank you so much, Amit. So y'all, we did it. We sent 4 amazing people to the moon and safely returned them to Earth for the first time in more than 50 years. To the generation that now knows what we're capable of, welcome to our moonshot. I want to thank our entire team across this nation and around the world who gave every ounce of ingenuity and effort to make. I am so proud of each and every one of you, what you have achieved over the last 10 days. NASA has shown that ambitious goals are worth pursuing and can inspire the world. We are so thrilled to have Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy back here on Earth and safely aboard the USS John P. Murtha. Our team is fired up, and this mission, as we've been talking about, is just the beginning. To all of our new followers out there, please stay tuned. This is the first mission, our first mission to the moon, of many more to come. And we can't wait. Our teams are so ready to get to work on the next missions and explore the lunar surface and bring the world along with us. I'll pass it over to Rick.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you all for your continued interest in this mission. What a truly spectacular day it was for NASA and all of our international partners. This crew has said time and again that they were going for all of humanity, and today we fulfilled that objective by completing their journey and returning them safely to Earth. I've got a few stats for those who are interested, courtesy of the Flight Dynamics Officer in Mission Control. Integrity and her crew of 4 astronauts flew 700,237 miles. We reached a peak velocity of 24,664 miles per hour. We hit our flight path angle target within 0.4%. We flew an entry range of 1,957 miles, and we landed within less than a mile of our target. What a tremendous day. Over to Howard.
Thank you, Rick, and thank you to the Flight Control team. What an outstanding job. Wow, what a fantastic day. I mean, we've dreamed as a team of reaching this day, and appreciate Amit's comments. I mean, so many people have worked very hard, tirelessly to get this day. I think this mission has been historic and has demonstrated new capabilities for Orion spacecraft, has taken our crew farther than any crews that have ever gone to the moon and back safely. 252,756 miles. And that is a fantastic feat. We got a lot more to do. And I'm so happy that we get to have this moment, but we're going to have a lot of these moments coming up. And I want to thank the entire Orion team. They have worked tirelessly. They've dedicated many hours. They've committed to excellence and innovated and attacked challenges that we've come up with for both our NASA team, our industry partners, and our European team as well. We did it together. We brought the crew home safely. They deserve a round of applause. It was a terrific day for them as well. And I want to thank the crew